Chapter 451. The burly young man's face was completely squeezed together. His face was twisted with endless pain. Bang! Lu Ming's fist surged with terrifying power and erupted with a loud bang. The burly young man's fist exploded like tofu dregs. Ah, ah, ah. The burly young man's body retreated frantically as he let out a hysterical scream. The two punched each other. It was not Lu Ming's fist that exploded, but the burly young man's. Now go to hell. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he strode toward the burly young man. Ah, what are you doing? What are you doing? The burly young man screamed like a frightened little girl. He was no longer as arrogant as before. At this moment, there was only fear in his heart. The strength of Lu Ming's physical body was beyond his imagination. It was definitely above grade 6. His physical body had reached grade 6 before he became a martial king. How did he cultivate? What am I doing? Didn't you hear me? I'll send you to hell. Lu Ming's murderous intent was as cold as the snow in winter. It was bone-chilling. No, you can't kill me. I'm the son of the protector of Wind Palace. If you kill me, my father will not let you go. The burly young man roared. Ha ha, there are only the two of us here. If I kill you, how will your father know? Since you intervened to seize the bead, your fate has been sealed. Go to hell. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch. The physical body of a grade 6 upper realm expert was extremely terrifying. The punch shook the air like a falling meteorite. With a terrifying force, it blasted toward the burly young man. No, no! The burly young man roared, but it was impossible for him to dodge. He could only wave his other fist to block Lu Ming. Crack! The two fists collided. The burly young man's other fist also exploded like tofu. Ah, my hand, my hand! The burly young man screamed miserably. His face was completely distorted, and tears and snot flowed down his face. His whole body was trembling, his legs were shaking, and his pants were wet. He was so scared that he peed. Regret, incomparable regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have snatched the bead. Originally, he thought that with his rank 5 physical body, he would be able to suppress Lu Ming. He had never expected Lu Ming to be so strong. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. The burly young man staggered backward, begging as he retreated. Bang! In the next moment, a terrifying fist energy struck his chest. The violent fist energy directly penetrated his body and shattered his heart. The burly young man's eyeballs popped out of their sockets, and blood gushed out of his mouth. His face was filled with remorse, and in the next moment, he died. Lu Ming swiped his hand and took off the burly young man's storage ring. I'm so unlucky to have met this guy and let a peerless treasure escape. No, I have to keep chasing. Maybe I can catch up. Thinking of this, Lu Ming ran dozens of meters in one step, chasing in the direction where the bead flew. This chase went on for over 1,000 miles. However, he still did not see any trace of the bead. Ah, my precious bead! Lu Ming wanted to shout. However, Lu Ming was not willing to give up. He gritted his teeth and continued to chase. However, this time, Lu Ming stopped in less than 100 miles. Rumble! Buzz in front of him, there was a deafening roar. Endless lightning flashed, as if it was going to destroy heaven and earth. There was a sea of thunder. Endless thunder and lightning flashed everywhere like thunder snakes. It was extremely terrifying. There was a cauldron. The cauldron was simple and unadorned. It was as big as a mountain suspended between heaven and earth. The endless lightning was emitted by this giant cauldron. In the sky, there were dark clouds. Between the dark clouds, there was a pool. In the pool, there was water constantly flowing down. The strange thing was that the water was blood red. It was like the water of the ocean spreading toward the giant cauldron. The giant cauldron kept emitting lightning to bombard the blood-red water, but it was useless. The blood-red water kept hitting the giant cauldron. The giant cauldron was rumbling and shaking. The lightning on the cauldron was decreasing, and the light became dim. Tribulation, this is tribulation. This giant cauldron is actually undergoing tribulation. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Although Lu Ming did not know what tribulation the pool in the sky was, it was definitely a heavenly tribulation. There were many kinds of heavenly tribulations. Lu Ming only knew a few common ones. A giant cauldron was actually undergoing tribulation. Lu Ming found it unbelievable. Rumble! The pool in the sky tilted slightly. Endless blood-red water poured down like the water of the ocean. The sky rumbled and rushed toward the giant cauldron. Dang! The giant cauldron shook. The incomparably huge cauldron emitted lightning that was thicker than a bucket, trying to repel the blood-red water. Unfortunately, although the lightning was terrifying, the blood-red water seemed to be able to restrain it. The lightning had no effect on the blood-red water. Rumble! The blood-red water kept hitting the cauldron. The giant cauldron kept shaking, as if it could not take it anymore. This giant cauldron is definitely like the bead from before. It's a supreme treasure. If I can get it, I'll be rich. Unfortunately, this heavenly tribulation is too terrifying. If I go in, I'll probably be washed away by the blood-red water, and not even dregs will be left. Lu Ming thought to himself. He could only watch and feel anxious. At this time, the giant cauldron shook even more violently. The lightning it emitted was also decreasing. It seemed like it could not hold on any longer. Right at this moment, a sudden change occurred. The stone egg that had been hanging on Lu Ming's hair suddenly flew out. It emitted a bright light and rushed toward the pool in the sky. In the process of flying, the stone egg became bigger and bigger. In the end, it became bigger than a mountain. A crack appeared on the eggshell like a huge mouth and bit toward the pool. Rumble! The pool seemed to be alarmed. It shook slightly. Heaven and earth roared. Endless blood rushed out of the pool and rushed toward the stone egg. However, the stone egg shone and was not afraid at all. It rushed over and appeared above the pool. At the next moment, the stone egg opened its mouth and bit. Crack! Half of the pool was directly bitten. At this moment, the whole world shook violently. It was as if the heavens were angry and were about to destroy the world. However, at the next moment, crack! The stone egg opened its mouth again and directly swallowed the remaining half of the pool. Heaven and earth suddenly calmed down. Whoosh! The stone egg shone and quickly shrank. It flew back to Lu Ming's hair and hung on it as if nothing had happened. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. It took him a long time to react. Nest, what is this thing? It even swallowed the pool of the heavenly tribulation. Isn't this too heaven-defying? Lu Ming stared and muttered to himself. Although he knew that Dandan was extraordinary, this was indeed shocking. Clang! Chapter 452. Swoosh! The cauldron shrunk to the size of a fist and appeared in front of Lu Ming. The cauldron had 3 legs and 2 handles. The body of the cauldron seemed to be made of bronze, and there were some strange patterns on it. Lightning crackled on the body of the cauldron. It was a lightning cauldron. The lightning cauldron floated in front of Lu Ming and seemed to be sizing up Lu Ming. Then it flew a few rounds around Lu Ming. Lu Ming instinctively exuded the aura of lightning. Clang! The lightning cauldron shook slightly and suddenly slammed into Lu Ming's glabella. Lu Ming was shocked and instinctively retreated. However, it was too late. The lightning cauldron slammed into his glabella, and in the next instant, it disappeared. Boom! Lu Ming felt the world shake, and he blacked out. In the next instant, he realized that he had appeared in a hazy place. There was a boundless fog around him. A cauldron that was taller than a mountain floated in front of him. The lightning essence that was as vast as the ocean spread out. This is my sea of consciousness. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He did not expect that the lightning cauldron would rush into his sea of consciousness. Let's get out of here first. Lu Ming focused. In the next instant, his consciousness left his sea of consciousness and returned to his physical body. He looked around and saw that it was a desert. Peace was restored. Ha! That lightning cauldron ran into my sea of consciousness. Does that mean that it wants to follow me? Also, that terrifying lightning essence. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming immediately appeared in the Temple of Paragon and focused. In the next instant, Lu Ming returned to the foggy place. This was his sea of consciousness. The lightning cauldron floated in the air motionlessly. The vast lightning essence continued to spread out. It was extremely rich. The lightning essence is too terrifying. Haha, I'm rich. Lu Ming laughed in his heart. Then he called out to the lightning cauldron a few times, but there was no response from it. Although this lightning cauldron didn't have an artifact spirit, Lu Ming was certain that it definitely had its own spirituality. Now that it wasn't reacting at all, it was likely that it had been injured by the heavenly tribulation and needed to recover. Forget it. I'll comprehend the concept of thunder first. Lu Ming walked under the thunder cauldron and sat down cross-legged, comprehending the vast concept of thunder. The thunder intent from the thunder cauldron was too dense. It was dozens of times denser than the thunder intent in the Tao Enlightenment Palace. It was also clearer and easier to comprehend. It was as if there was a supreme existence teaching Lu Ming the concept of thunder at all times. Lu Ming felt as if he was bathed in a sea of thunder concept. His thunder concept was advancing by leaps and bounds. Awesome, this is awesome. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The carefree feeling of rapid improvement fascinated him, and he became even more focused on comprehending. As time passed, Lu Ming's lightning force increased at a terrifying speed. Thunder force, early stage of great accomplishment, middle stage of great accomplishment, late stage of great accomplishment. In a mere 5 days' time, Lu Ming's lightning momentum rushed to the grand completion stage in one stroke. However, Lu Ming did not have any intention of stopping. The state of thunder in the surroundings was simply too high quality. It was definitely not a first-grade state of thunder. It was many times higher than the first-grade state of thunder that a martial king comprehended. To comprehend in such an environment for someone who was still in the realm of force, the speed of improvement was terrifying. It was just like a person earning money. When one had no capital, it would be difficult to earn tens of thousands of yuan. But when you have millions or tens of millions, is it still difficult to earn tens of thousands of yuan? It wouldn't be difficult. Lu Ming continued to cultivate, trying to break through to the intent realm. After Xiao Chen's state of thunder reached perfection, his speed of improvement started to slow down. However, that was only compared to before. Compared to others, he was still many times faster. Awesome, this is too awesome. I wonder what level the owner of this lightning cauldron is. I heard that even martial emperors would die if they came here. Could it be that they have surpassed the martial emperor realm? Lu Ming thought to himself. Surpass the martial emperor? Lu Ming simply did not dare to imagine it. In the divine, desolate continent, martial monarchs were the peak experts. They ruled over an area, and their might shook the world. No one could defeat them. Was there really an existence that surpassed martial monarchs in the world? Lu Ming found it hard to imagine. No wonder. I heard that someone once obtained an inheritance at the 100 Gods Slope and became an expert that could move unhindered in the divine desolate continent. It is really possible. Lu Ming thought for a while before continuing to comprehend. Half a month. After only half a month, the power of thunder had undergone a qualitative change. It broke through the shackles in one move, transforming from state to intent realm. Thunder concept. Lu Ming had comprehended the thunder concept in one go. Ha ha ha. I really did not expect that I would comprehend the state of thunder so quickly. Now, I have comprehended the state of thunder for wind, fire, and thunder. What I need to do now is to merge the state of thunder with the state of wind and fire. Once the three states are merged, the three ultimate skills of the dragon god will immediately transform into a superior grade heaven ranked martial technique. Then, my combat prowess will reach a horrifying level. At that time, how many battles will I be able to fight? 9 battles? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Legend had it that 9 was the limit. No matter how powerful the geniuses of the divine desolate continent were, they could only reach 9 battles at most. It was impossible to break that limit. It was like a rule. Legend had it that a 9-battle genius had the potential to become a martial monarch. Lu Ming felt great anticipation in his heart. For now, Lu Ming put aside the matter of comprehending the state of thunder. Then, he focused on merging the 3 states. Unfortunately, merging the 3 states was too difficult. The difficulty of merging the states increased tremendously with each additional state. Right now, merging the 3 states was even more difficult than merging the state of wind and fire. Fortunately, Lu Ming already had experience in merging the states. He could avoid many detours. However, he could not merge them in a short time. While Lu Ming was doing his best to merge the 3 states, a horrifying electric light suddenly burst out from a courtyard in the Thunder Palace in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The electric light soared into the sky, and dark clouds immediately covered the sky. Lightning flashed, and thunder roared. This time, countless people were alarmed. Heavenly tribulation. That is a heavenly tribulation. Someone is undergoing a tribulation to break through to Martial King. Who is it? It should be Xue Chao. Previously, I heard that he was in closed-door cultivation to break through to Martial King. Incredible. I wonder if he can succeed or not. Rumble. Following that, lightning flashed and thunder roared. A heavenly flame descended, and a tribulation descended. Half an hour later, the dark clouds scattered, and a loud roar shook the sky. Following that, a purple figure soared into the sky from the Thunder Palace. As he hovered in the air, lightning flickered around him, filling him with a disdainful aura. It really is Xue Chao. He broke through to Martial King. The Thunder Palace Master has another Martial King expert under his wing. How envious! He became a Martial King, transcending mortality, and has a lifespan of 1,000 years. I have to work hard. Discussions rang out in the surroundings. Most of them were filled with envy. Whoosh. Chapter 453. Haha, Junior Brother Chio. As long as you work hard, you'll definitely be able to enter the king realm within 10 years. The purple-clothed young man, Xue Chao, laughed loudly, feeling extremely pleased with himself. Senior brother, please guide me in the future. Chiu Changkong said. Xue Chao nodded his head in satisfaction and said, Oh, right, where's Lu Ming? I've already broken through to the Martial King realm, and killing him is as easy as killing an ant. I'll find a chance to deal with him. Xue Chao placed his hands behind his back and looked disdainfully at the world. Lu Ming seems to have gone out some time ago. Xiao Changkong's eyes flashed with a cold light. Oh, he went out. He's lucky. I'll let him live for a while longer. Junior brother Qiu, find someone to keep an eye on him. Once Lu Ming returns, inform me as soon as possible. Xue Chao said. Thank you, senior brother. Xiao Changkong was overjoyed. In the 100 Gods slope, Lu Ming was trying his best to merge the three forces. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Although he had made great progress in the merging of the three wills, he was still lacking a little, and it was difficult to merge them completely. At this time, the 3-month deadline of the 100 Gods slope was about to arrive. Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and rushed out with all his might. His speed was much faster, and 2 days later, Lu Ming was out of the 100 Gods slope. Once out of the 100 Gods slope, Lu Ming's genuine qi immediately recovered. It was like a surging river, surging vigorously and reaching its peak. I didn't expect that after being suppressed for 3 months, there would still be progress. Now that I've reached the limit of the martial ancestor realm, I've comprehended the wills of wind, fire, and thunder. When I return, I can start refining my genuine qi. Whoosh! Lu Ming soared into the sky and flew towards the myriad star city. 2 hours later, Lu Ming entered the Emperor God Palace and returned to the East Sky Courtyard. Lu Ming is finally back. A deep voice came from the clouds, not far away. Then a figure flashed and disappeared. East Sky Courtyard. Now, I'll start refining my genuine qi with the 3 wills. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. Boom, boom, boom. 3 powerful intents burst forth, but they disappeared in a flash. Lu Ming controlled the 3 intents and dissolved them in his dantian. Bang, bang, bang. Then, the 3 wills struck the vortex as if they were hammering iron. The cyclone vibrated, and sparks flew out of it. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Ming continued to control the 3 types of essence of heaven and earth, bombarding the cyclone continuously. Sparks flew out from the impact. They were genuine qi. Genuine qis, as steel iron. His true qi was like mixed iron, and his true essence was like fine steel. If it wasn't for the concept of heaven and earth, there was no other way to achieve this. Once one reached the peak of the 9th layer martial ancestor realm, one's qi would be extremely condensed. It would be extremely difficult to temper it, was to refine it, to refine. Fortunately, Lu Ming cultivated 3 types of heaven and earth concept at the same time. The tempering effect was many times stronger than that of a single concept. It was not as simple as multiplying it by 3. Bang! The 3 wills continued to bombard the heavens and earth. Sparks flew in all directions. At the same time, there were dragon roars. Half an hour later, the qi whirlpool shook violently. Then, a crystal-like liquid floated out. Genuine qi. Haha, I've finally refined a strand of genuine qi. Afterward, Lu Ming put in more effort to temper. After the first strand of genuine qi was born, the rest was much easier. Genuine qi continued to be refined. 2 hours later, the genuine qi in the qi whirlpool and meridians had been refined into crystal-like genuine qi. However, Lu Ming discovered a fact. The amount of quintessential essence was too little. It was less than 1% of the previous quintessential energy. Transforming genuine qi to genuine qi was like transforming force to intent. It was a qualitative improvement. Genuine qi was dozens of times more condensed than genuine qi. Of course, it was much more powerful. Once the genuine qi was refined into genuine qi, only 1 out of 100 could be refined. Lu Ming felt empty in his dantian and meridians, supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Ming waved his hand, and 5,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals appeared beside him. Explode! Lu Ming shouted. Bang! 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 All 5,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals exploded. The 9 dragons' bloodline opened its mouth and swallowed. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth flowed into the 9 dragons' bloodline's mouth like a tide. It then turned into genuine chi and flowed into Lu Ming's body. It replenished Lu Ming's genuine chi. Soon, Lu Ming's body was filled with genuine chi again. Continue refining. Then, Lu Ming began refining again. After the genuine chi turned into genuine chi, more genuine chi flowed into the 9 dragons' bloodline. The proportion of genuine chi in Lu Ming's body increased. 1%, 2%, 3%. Soon, all 5,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals had been used up. Lu Ming took out another 5,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. The process of refining genuine qi consumed a lot of supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Therefore, Lu Ming had already exchanged for supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Refining went on like crazy. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In 3 days, Lu Ming had used up all his supreme-grade spiritual crystals. At this time, Lu Ming's genuine qi had only reached 50%. Horrifying. It was really horrifying. Lu Ming had a total of 45,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals. The energy required by the true dragon fighting skill is too terrifying. An ordinary person would need at most 10,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. But I need so much. It's too terrifying. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. It seems that I still need to get a batch of supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Ming sighed. In fact, it was possible to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and refine it slowly. However, that would take too long, and Lu Ming could not afford it. Supreme-grade spiritual crystals. How can I get enough of them? Lu Ming thought hard. Previously, he had already sold everything he could and exchanged them for supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Now, he didn't have much left to sell. I got some dragon grass in the dragon's cave. I wanted to keep it to cultivate the true dragon fighting skill. Now that the true dragon fighting skill has reached level 9, it is no longer useful. I can sell it. Also, I can sell the sword-shaped herb I got at the 100 Gods slope. I can definitely sell it for a good price. Lu Ming thought. Oh, right, that guy's storage ring. He thought of the storage ring of the burly young man he killed at the 100 Gods slope. He immediately opened it to take a look. Lu Ming was overjoyed when he saw it. There were 10,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. There were also some other things that could be worth at least 1,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. That burly young man was the son of a guardian of the Wind Palace. It was normal for him to have so many supreme-grade spiritual crystals. He probably saved them to refine his genuine qi. Now, all of them were given to Lu Ming. Let's go to the Rare Treasure House. Chapter 454. Lu Ming left the Eastern Sky courtyard and soared into the sky, heading towards the mystical treasure house. Lu Ming finally left the Eastern Sky courtyard. Looking at his direction, he should be heading towards the mystical treasure house. Quickly send a message to Senior Brother Shui. As soon as Lu Ming left the Eastern Sky courtyard, a youth appeared in the clouds in the distance. He took out 1,000 miles sound transmission talisman and sent a message. Lu Ming did not use his fastest speed because there were many people in the sky. If he was too fast, it would be easy for him to get into trouble. After a while, the mystical treasure house came into view. Lu Ming. Just at this moment, a cold shout reverberated between heaven and earth. Lu Ming furrowed his brows and turned around. Behind him, 2 youths were flying towards him. Seeing the 2 of them, Lu Ming furrowed his brows. Cho Chang Kong, and it's actually him. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. One of them was Chiu Chang Kong. As for the other, Lu Ming recognized him with a single glance. He was the same youth who had sent the invitation letter to the Divine Guard selection at the Mystic Origin Sword sect. Chiu Chang Kong and Xue Chao instantly arrived in front of Lu Ming. "Why did the two of you call for me?" Lu Ming asked indifferently. "What's the matter?" "Haha, Lu Ming, you seem to have forgotten quickly. More than 3 months ago, you contradicted the Thunder Palace Master in front of everyone in the Thunder Palace. That was simply outrageous. I don't mind telling you, I'm the Lightning Palace Master's third disciple, Xue Chao. Today, I'll seek justice for my master." Xue Chao's face was gloomy as he stared at Lu Ming and shouted. His voice was very loud, and it spread far and wide. Even the people in the mystical treasure house were alarmed. "That's Xue Chao and Lu Ming. I heard that 3 months ago, Lu Ming disrespected the Lightning Palace Master. Looks like Xue Chao is going to find trouble with Lu Ming. Isn't that right? Lu Ming is arrogant. He's finished this time." "Hee hee, there's a good show to watch." Ear-piercing sounds continued to ring out as hundreds of people surrounded them. "Seek justice?" Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he laughed loudly. "What a joke!" That day, I followed the normal procedure and went to the Thunder Hall to listen to the lecture. But the Thunder Hall master wanted to chase me away for no reason. How could I not go against such an action? There's a saying that goes, if the emperor breaks the law, he will be punished the same as the commoners. So what if it's the Thunder Palace Master? If he's wrong, why can't I say anything? "Presumptuous, arrogant," Xue Chao shouted. His gaze was threatening as he said, "Lu Ming, how audacious. My master is the Thunder Hall Master and has made great contributions to the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. He has a venerated status and is not someone that an ant like you can go against. You still dare to boast shamelessly and disrespect my master. My master is open-minded and won't lower himself to your level. However, as his disciple, I can't just sit by and watch. Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of my master." Boom. After speaking, an incomparably terrifying aura erupted from Xue Chao's body. This aura was so powerful that it caused even the space to tremble slightly. Some people on the side couldn't withstand this aura and frantically retreated. This was the aura of a king, the pressure of a king. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Back in the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Xue Chao was clearly only a half-step king. Who would have thought that after not seeing him for a while, Xue Chao had already broken through to the king realm? Being able to break through to the king realm at this age was already very rare. Rumble, the king realm aura, was like an ancient divine mountain as it pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure moved slightly as he resisted this pressure. Xue Chao is going to make a move. Lu Ming is finished. Serves him right. Lu Ming is so arrogant and self-righteous. I already expected that he would suffer. Now, Xue Chao is teaching Lu Ming a lesson on behalf of his master. It's reasonable. As a person, it's better to keep a low profile. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. If he wasn't so self-righteous and didn't dream of cultivating several intents at the same time, he would have already taken the Wind Palace Master as his master. If he took the Wind Palace Master as his master, Xue Chao wouldn't dare to make things difficult for him. Humph. He only has himself to blame. Many people who disliked Lu Ming gloated over his misfortune and made sarcastic remarks. Lu Ming, kneel down and admit your mistake. I can forgive you, Xue Chao shouted as he took a step forward. Rumble. The heaven and earth shook as the space rumbled. Xue Chao's step seemed to have 100 million pounds of force. With this step, the aura on his body became even stronger. Lu Ming, hurry up and kneel down and admit your mistake. Beg my senior brother to forgive you. On the side, Chiu Changkong also shouted, Chiu Changkong, do you want to die? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he looked at Chiu Changkong, with eyes filled with killing intent. Immediately, Chiu Changkong felt his body go cold and his scalp go numb. He subconsciously took a few steps back. He coward. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, you want to die? Chiu Changkong came to his senses, and his face turned red. He pointed at Lu Ming and shouted crazily, You're a mad dog. Lu Ming glanced at Chiu Changkong, and then looked at Xue Chao. With a wave of his hand, a long spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! The tip of the spear pointed at Xue Chao and said, Cut the crap. If you want to fight, let's fight. Haha, you want to fight with me? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Xue Chao laughed. Countless lightning bolts surrounded his body, and he looked like a thunder god. Stop. At this moment, a loud roar was heard. Rumble. In the sky, a tall figure suddenly appeared. His body was emitting a terrifying aura. This aura was so oppressive that the crowd almost couldn't breathe. How can you fight near the mystical treasure restaurant? If you want to fight, go to the Divine Guard's platform. The tall figure roared furiously, Guardian! Seeing this figure, Xue Chao's face turned grave. There were 9 halls in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, and each hall only had 3 guardians. Each of them was extremely powerful. Although Xue Chao had broken through to the martial king realm, he still had to behave in front of the guardians. I'll leave my words here. If you continue to fight here, I won't hold back. The protector said coldly. Then, with a flicker of his body, he disappeared from the place. Damn it! Lu Ming, you're lucky today. I'll let you off for now. However, there will be a time when you leave the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. At that time, I'll teach you a lesson. Xue Chao snorted coldly, with an ugly face. I'm lucky? Hee. Xue Chao, you came to find trouble with me, and now you want to leave? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Lu Ming said flatly. Lu Ming, what do you mean? Do you want to fight with me? Xue Chao sneered. That's right. Xue Chao, I'm officially challenging you now. Do you dare to fight with me at the Divine Guard's platform? Lu Ming shouted as he pointed his spear at Xue Chao. His voice swept out in all directions like a storm. The scene was in an uproar. What? Lu Ming took the initiative to challenge Xue Chao? Did I hear it wrong? Crazy. Lu Ming is crazy. Is he blind? Can't he see that Xue Chao is already a martial king? How dare he challenge him? Chapter 455. Someone below the king realm actually dared to challenge a king realm cultivator. If he wasn't crazy, then he must have eaten a flood dragon's gallbladder. Since ancient times, those below the king realm who dared to challenge a king realm cultivator were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Almost everyone thought that Lu Ming must have been blinded by his own arrogance. Even Xue Chao himself was stunned. After a while, he reacted and said in a daze, What did you say? You want to challenge me? That's right. Don't tell me you don't dare to accept the challenge. Lu Ming said, Don't dare to accept the challenge? Ha. All right, I accept your challenge. I'll accept it 10,000 times. Xue Chao was almost shouting. He was too excited. He never thought that Lu Ming would actually challenge him. Was there something wrong with his head? Originally, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace had a rule that kings couldn't challenge martial artists below the king realm. This was because the gap between them was too big. There was no suspense at all. It would be a one-sided slaughter. Even if a King Realm cultivator took the initiative to challenge, martial artists below the King Realm could also reject. Therefore, when he was stopped by the Guardian, he felt helpless and didn't take the initiative to challenge Lu Ming. In his opinion, even if he challenged, Lu Ming would reject. Never in his wildest dreams would he expect that Lu Ming would challenge him. Wasn't this exactly what he wanted? At the side, Chiu Chong Kong was so excited that his whole body was trembling. He kept shouting in his heart, "Courting death! Ha ha! Lu Ming is courting death." In that case, let's fight at the Divine Guard's platform. After saying that, Lu Ming took the lead and flew towards the Divine Guard's platform. Xue Chao and Chiu Chong Kong hurriedly followed, as if they were afraid that Lu Ming would run away. There's a good show to watch. Quickly send a voice transmission and ask Junior Brother to come and watch. It's rare to see someone below the King Realm challenging a King Realm cultivator. Quick, send a voice transmission too. The hundreds of people present all sent voice transmissions to those they were familiar with, asking them to come and watch. Then they followed Lu Ming and flew towards the Divine Guard's platform. Swish! The space trembled, and a tall figure appeared. It was the Guardian from before. Interesting, let's go and watch. In the next moment, the figure disappeared. As Lu Ming flew, his eyes revealed a strong fighting spirit. The reason why he challenged Xue Chao was not because he was hot-headed, but because he had thought it through carefully. He had a crazy plan in his mind. He planned to use Xue Chao's power to fuse the three concepts of wind, fire, and thunder. Yes, he needed external help. In the past, he had experienced the same thing. The reason why he had been able to successfully fuse the power of wind and fire was because he had relied on Chiu Changlia's pressure to fuse them together. He wanted to repeat the same trick, and Xue Chao was undoubtedly a very good target. With Lu Ming's current strength, he could kill a bunch of ordinary half-step kings with one move. It was not challenging at all. However, he had no confidence in challenging those veteran kings. As for Xue Chao, it was obvious that he had just broken through to the King Realm. His strength was not considered strong among the King Realm, and he was just right for a fight. Soon, the Divine Guards arrived. In a flicker, Lu Ming appeared on the Divine Guard platform. Xue Chao also descended from the Divine Guard platform. Wong! Buzz! Right at this moment, the space suddenly shook, and then several figures appeared in the sky. Palace Lords. The Palace Lords have arrived. Wind Palace Lord, Fire Palace Lord, Thunder Palace Lord, and Metal Palace Lord. 4 Palace Lords have come at once. It's rare for a King Realm cultivator to challenge a King Realm cultivator, so it's normal for the Palace Lords to come. The arrival of the Palace Lords in the sky immediately caused a burst of exclamations. "Haha, you guys are fast." A loud laugh sounded as another figure appeared in the sky. This figure was tall and sturdy. Although he had a head of white hair, he still looked spirited. Earth Palace Lord has also arrived. Someone shouted. 5 of the 9 Palace Lords had arrived, which was more than half of them. Disciple greets Master. Seeing Thunder Palace Lord arrive, Xue Chao revealed a joyful expression. He flew into the sky and saluted Thunder Palace Lord. Well, I already know the whole story. Since Lu Ming is so arrogant and conceited, then you should teach him a good lesson, so that he will remember. Thunder Palace Lord said indifferently. Yes, Master. Xue Chao revealed a joyful expression as he descended from the battle platform. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, air-rending sounds could be heard as figures rushed over from all directions of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace like ants. After a while, more than 10,000 people had appeared near the Divine Guard battle platform. This showed how big of a commotion this challenge had caused. Ha! Lu Ming, You should feel honored that so many people have come to see you get beaten up. Xue Chao laughed. We haven't fought yet, so I advise you not to be too happy. If you lose to me, you will be embarrassed. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lose to you? Ha, Lu Ming, you really can think of that. You must be out of your mind. There's no such possibility. Xue Chao laughed maniacally. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled, faintly, as he suddenly smiled. Xue Chao, how about this? Since you are so confident, why don't we make a bet? Bet? What do you want to bet? Xue Chao's eyes lit up. If Lu Ming wanted to bet with him, wouldn't that be giving him money? How could he not agree? I'll bet with you with this. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a sword-shaped herb appeared in the air, floating in front of Lu Ming. Once the sword-shaped herb appeared, it emitted a terrifying sword intent. Clang, clang, clang. The 9 leaves of the sword-shaped herb were like divine swords as they emitted a clanging sound. 9 rays of sword light shot up into the sky. Even Lu Ming himself was dumbfounded. Previously, the sword-shaped herb did not have such a phenomenon in the 100 Gods slope. He did not expect it to emit such a horrifying phenomenon, which was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. The others in the surroundings were dumbstruck as well, and they were flabbergasted. What kind of spiritual herb is this? How could it cause such a phenomenon? Such a powerful sword intent. It's too powerful and mysterious. One of my sword skills is showing signs of a breakthrough. Treasure. This is a real treasure. Around him, some people let out excited roars. Boom, boom. Just then, the 5 palace lords emitted a horrifying wave of energy as they stared at the sword-shaped herb with their eyes wide open. This is after the death of a supreme expert. His sword didn't dissipate. After thousands of years, it can only be born by chance. It contains a trace of the supreme expert's sword Dao. The palace lord of wind said with a trembling voice. Treasure. A supreme treasure. The palace lord of fire also said with a trembling voice. How could this kid have such a treasure? I must get it. The palace lord of thunder's eyes were filled with greed. Lu Ming, how about selling this sword-shaped herb to me? I'll give you 60,000 spiritual crystals. The palace lord of gold was the first to speak. 60,000 spiritual crystals. Old Monster Gene, you are dreaming. I'll give you 80,000 spiritual crystals. The palace lord of fire shouted. Lu Ming, I'll give you 100,000 spiritual crystals to buy your sword-shaped herb. Chapter 456. The surrounding people were once again dumbfounded. The battle had not even started yet, but the leaders had already started to fight over the plant that Lu Ming had taken out. And the price had reached a horrifying 100,000 spirit crystals, which had made a lot of people's souls shiver. 100,000 spirit crystals. What kind of concept was that? A lot of people would not even be able to see that many spirit crystals in their lifetime. The Thunder Palace leader stood on the side with a gloomy face. He also wanted to bid, but he could not bring himself to do so. But he really wanted to get the plant. But if Lu Ming sold it to one of the leaders, then he would have no hope at all. Seniors. Right then, Lu Ming suddenly held his fists together toward the leaders in the sky. His clear voice was heard. Seniors, I am a man of my words. I have said before that I would use this plant as a prize. So, I will definitely do it. After I win, I will sell it to you. Hearing him, all the leaders shook their heads and sighed. Around them, most of the people were cursing Lu Ming for being such an idiot. The leaders had offered such a high price, and he still did not want to sell it. Instead, he wanted to sell it after he won? Was that even possible? Xue Chao's luck is way too good. This Lu Ming is just an idiot. He still wants to win against Xue Chao. There is no chance of that happening. Lu Ming was not even a half-step king warrior when he was in the DT on Divine Guard exam. Even if he managed to break through during this period of time, he would still not be Xue Chao's opponent. The difference between half-step king warriors and king warriors is just too big. Even the most powerful martial geniuses would not be able to make it through. Indeed, since the ancient times, there were very few people who were able to fight against king warriors as half-step king warriors. Those kind of people, as long as they grew up, would all become powerful figures. In the east of the Tianxian region, there was only one person who managed to beat a king warrior as a half-step king warrior. That was the peerless martial genius from 100 years ago. You are talking about Yan Kuangtu? Of course. Apart from him, who else could it be? He is the only peerless monster to defeat a king as a half-step king in the past 1,000 years of the Tianxian region. Later on, he even became the disciple of Supreme Nine Sons. Right now, he is already one of the peak experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. How can Lu Ming be compared to Yan Kuangtu? The difference is too great. However, there was one exception, and that was the Thunder Palace Master. At this moment, his heart was bursting with joy. Lu Ming still wanted to use the sword-shaped plant as the prize. Wasn't he giving it to him for free? The Thunder Palace Master tried his best to hold back his laughter. Xue Chao, say something. Do you dare to bet with me? My sword-shaped plant is worth 80,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. Do you dare? If not, just say it and I will change it. Lu Ming shouted. 80,000? Xue Chao was stunned and stuttered. He didn't have 80,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. He had just broken through to the martial king realm, so he had used up all the top-grade spirit crystals he had on him to refine his vital essence. Moreover, even if he hadn't used them all, it was impossible for him to have 80,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. He was willing to bet with Lu Ming 1,000 times, but he couldn't afford that amount of spiritual crystals. Chow, bet with him. I will pay the spiritual crystals. The Thunder Palace Master said. He waved his hand, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. He threw it to Xue Chao. Xue Chao was overjoyed. He caught the storage ring and said, "Thank you, Master." The Thunder Palace Master nodded calmly, but his heart was bursting with joy. This old man is so cunning. The other palace masters cursed in their hearts. Lu Ming, please be my witness. If I win, I am afraid that someone will go back on their word. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the other palace masters. The crowd was speechless again. Did he really think that he would win? Lu Ming, you don't have to worry about this. Since the few of us are here, none of you can go back on your word. The Wind Palace Masters said resolutely. The other palace masters nodded in agreement. Then I'll have to thank the palace masters. Lu Ming said. He then looked around, and his gaze fell on a young man with a sword-shaped mark between his eyebrows. He was the leader of the 4 heavenly divine guards, Sheng Wushuang. Sheng Wushuang, since you are here, why don't we have a bet? Lu Ming looked at Sheng Wushuang and said, "You want to bet with me? What are we betting on?" Sheng Wushuang's eyes were fixed on the sword-shaped herb. He looked away reluctantly and looked at Lu Ming. Of course, we're betting on who will win. Let's bet on the supreme grade spiritual crystals. I'll bet on myself. I'll bet less than you. How about 30,000 supreme grade spiritual crystals? Lu Ming said with a smile. Why wouldn't I dare? I will bet 30,000 spiritual crystals on Brother Xue winning. Sheng Wushuang waved his hand, and a huge jade box appeared. When he opened it, it was filled with neat rows of top-grade spiritual crystals that exuded rich spiritual qi. Oh, Sheng Wushuang really has 30,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. He is really rich. Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming, Where are your top-grade spiritual crystals? Take them out. Sheng Wushuang said. Why, Sheng Wushuang, are you afraid that I will go back on my word? Lu Ming said with a smile. He did not have 30,000 top-grade spiritual crystals on him. He only had 10,000 top-grade spiritual crystals, and he got them from the burly young man's storage ring. How could he take them out? He was just trying to gain something without risking anything. Humph! I don't think you would dare to go back on your word. Sheng Wushuang snorted. Lu Ming, are you done? Xue Chao said coldly. Yes, you can start now. Lu Ming looked at Xue Chao and smiled, faintly. Xue Chao was enraged by his attitude. Wait a minute, I'll make you cry. Xue Chao's eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from his body. Lightning flashed all over his body, and a powerful thunder intent realm burst out. Lu Ming, I will defeat you in 3 moves. Xue Chao roared with a crazy aura. He grasped the air with one hand, and streaks of lightning gathered in his hand, finally forming a lightning sword. Thunder slash! Whoosh! Xue Chao took a step forward, and the lightning sword slashed down at Lu Ming. The aura of a martial king was fully released. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Boom! Lu Ming's figure moved, and he kicked his leg forward. A terrifying force burst out. The 2 forces collided, and Lu Ming's body flew backward. Xue Chao did not move at all. Defeated, Lu Ming is going to be defeated. The difference is too big. Yes, Xue Chao should not have used his full strength. Lu Ming was completely defeated and was sent flying in 1 move. How can he be so arrogant with such little battle strength? I really can't believe it. There was a wave of discussion around. Lose for me, Xue Chao roared, his eyes extremely cold. His body was like lightning, pouncing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's mouth curved into a sneer. He took a step forward and soared into the sky. 9 dragons in the sky. Boom, boom. This time, it was 2 steps in a row. The space shook violently as the 2 terrifying forces superimposed and surged toward Xue Chao. Boom. The force overflowed, and lightning flashed. Lu Ming and Xue Chao both flew backward. Chapter 4:57. CSI. This time, gasps could be heard from all around. Lu Ming actually managed to block Xue Chao's attack. How was that possible? Lu Ming was too strong. Was he trying to defy the heavens? Damn it! Xue Chao shouted angrily. He felt humiliated that Lu Ming had blocked his attack. Martial King experts could easily crush those below the Martial King level, regardless of whether they were geniuses or not. Those who could break through to the Martial King level were peerless geniuses. Those who were not talented would not be able to break through to the Martial King level. Furthermore, those who could break through to the Martial King level were usually Battle 3 geniuses. In other words, the weakest Martial King was a Battle 3 genius when he was a martial ancestor. Of course, nothing was absolute. There were some battle geniuses who broke through to the Martial King level, but they were too rare. They were geniuses, and with the Martial King level, it was too difficult to break through. But now, Lu Ming had actually blocked his attack. It was unbelievable. Tian-class martial skill. Lu Ming's attack is equivalent to a Tian-class martial skill. The Fire Palace Master said, with bright eyes, "That's right. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be able to cultivate a Tian-class martial skill before becoming a martial king. His talent is indeed extraordinary. Although it can barely be considered the first level of a lower Tian-class martial skill, it's still very rare." The Wind Palace Master nodded. Of course, the Palace Masters did not hide their words and spread it far and wide. The crowd suddenly realized that Lu Ming had cultivated a Tian-class martial skill. No wonder he could block Xue Chao's attack. One had to know that even among the low-level martial kings, there were many who had yet to cultivate a Tian-level martial skill. Xue Chao, didn't you say you would defeat me in 3 moves? Now you have 2 moves, 1 more. Lu Ming said with a smile. You're courting death. Xue Chao roared. Boom. An even stronger aura suddenly rushed out of Xue Chao's body. True Yuan like a stormy sea filled his entire body. True Yuan, an intent realm, made Xue Chao's aura extremely strong. This was the true strength of a martial king expert. However, this was not the end. A lightning sword danced in the air, extremely resplendent. 6 silver chakras revolved around the sword. Lu Ming's expression turned serious. Xue Chao was about to unleash his full strength. Lu Ming, you forced me to do this. If you can't take this move, you'll die. You brought this on yourself. Purple lightning annihilation sword. Xue Chao let out a long howl and charged toward Lu Ming like a thunder god, slashing out a terrifying sword gleam. Boom. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming activated his bloodline, which had already been converted to 50% of his true origin, and began to circulate it madly. Subsequently, the wind and fire concepts soared into the sky. True Dragon Strike. Xiao Chun thrust out his spear, and a 2-colored true dragon roared as it flew out. Waves of dragon roars shook the heavens and earth. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Boom. The 2-colored dragon collided heavily with Xue Chao's thunder battle sword. The Divine Guard battle platform rumbled violently and trembled. Horrifying power chi and intent realm shot out madly in all directions. Everyone was shocked and wanted to dodge. However, several palace masters waved their hands and formed a light screen, blocking the power chi. Boom. The light on the Divine Guard platform dissipated. A figure retreated 9 steps, each step causing the platform to rumble. It was Lu Ming. Xue Chao also retreated 3 steps. Gosh! Everyone stared blankly at the 2 figures on the battle platform. Obviously, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. However, everyone was not shocked by Xue Chao's strength. On the contrary, they were shocked by Lu Ming. Xue Chao had already unleashed his full strength, but Lu Ming was still able to withstand it. He was only at a slight disadvantage, and even pushed Xue Chao back a few steps. How could this be? Many people even rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they were dreaming. Nest, what am I seeing? I am witnessing a miracle. A half-step king could actually withstand a king's attack, and even push him back. This is crazy. Does this mean that Lu Ming already has the battle strength of a king? Gosh, this is too shocking. Many Tian Divine guards around were so excited that their faces were flushed red, and they were shouting loudly. Even the hall leaders were astounded. Wind and fire intent realm. This is the fusion of the wind and fire intent realm. Lu Ming obviously had not comprehended the intent realm before, but now he has comprehended 2 intents. This speed is too fast. Wind Palace Master said in shock. Cultivating 2 attributes at the same time and being able to comprehend 2 forces to the level of concept in such a short period of time. This kind of talent is really too shocking. Fire Palace Master sighed, especially Wind Palace Master, when he thought of persuading Lu Ming to give up on the fire intent realm and was rejected by Lu Ming. He was unhappy and thought that Lu Ming was arrogant and stubborn. Now that he thought of it, his face was a little hot. Lu Ming told everyone that he was not arrogant or stubborn, but that he had the talent to cultivate 2 intents at the same time. On the side, Thunder Palace Master's face was extremely gloomy. In the crowd, Sheng Wushuang's face was even uglier. He was the first person to berate Lu Ming like an elder. He said that Lu Ming's future was limited because he cultivated two intents at the same time, and that he could not compare with him in the future. But the truth was that Lu Ming's speed was still terrifying even though he cultivated two intents at the same time, much faster than many people who cultivated one intent. In such a short time, he had comprehended two intents at the same time. This was simply a slap to his face. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Sheng Wushuang, what do you think of my wind and fire intent realm? As if he felt Sheng Wushuang's gaze, Lu Ming looked at him and said with a smile, "Humph, it's just luck. So what if you have comprehended the wind and fire intent realm? You're still going to lose." Sheng Wushuang sneered. "Is that so?" The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into an inexplicable smile. "Lu Ming, go die." On the battle stage, Xue Chao roared. He felt like he was going crazy. He was a martial king expert, but he was forced back by a half-step king. This was a great humiliation, and from now on, he would become a laughingstock among kings. Since ancient times, how many kings had been forced back by a half-step king? He could go down in the history books. Therefore, he was angry, and he hated that he could not tear Lu Ming into pieces. "Lu Ming, with your wind and fire intent realm, how can you stop me? Purple lightning annihilation sword. Die." Xue Chao roared, his killing intent surging like a tide. Zhen Yuan gushed out, lightning flashed, and sword chi tore through the sky. With such a powerful battle strength, he could kill a large number of ordinary half-step kings with one sword. Unfortunately, Lu Ming was not an ordinary half-step king. If the wind and fire intent realm is not enough, then I'll add another one. Lu Ming said coldly. Bang! Sizzle! Then another heaven and earth intent realm rushed out from Lu Ming's body, and lightning appeared in the sky. Thunder intent realm. As soon as the thunder intent realm appeared, the heaven and earth suddenly quieted down. Space and time seemed to have frozen at this moment. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at Lu Ming. Chapter 458. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Then there was the sound of people sucking in cold air. What's that? Thunder concept? Oh, heavens! Oh, earth! Lu Ming has actually cultivated the thunder concept and has already comprehended it successfully. 3 concepts. How is that possible? I've never seen him use the thunder concept before. This is too heaven-defying, too heaven-defying. Cultivating 3 concepts at the same time and improving so quickly. How are others supposed to live? In the past, those who said that Lu Ming was arrogant, conceited, and stubborn are really blind. Lu Ming obviously knows his own limitations and knows his own talent. That's why he cultivated 3 types of intents. If he only cultivated 1 type of intents, he would really be stubborn and a waste of talent. Sue, lower your voice. That's what the Wind and Thunder Palace Masters said. The Thunder Palace Master even asked Lu Ming to get out of the Thunder Palace and not let him attend the lecture. It's over. Did he hear it? But I'm telling the truth. Cough, cough. In the sky, the Wind Palace Master coughed and looked embarrassed. Ha! It seems like I've made a mistake. The Wind Palace Master laughed and wasn't angry. However, it was a different story for the Thunder Palace Master. His eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at Lu Ming. That day, he berated Lu Ming and asked him to get out of the Thunder Summit. He said that Lu Ming wasn't qualified to listen to his lecture and would never amount to anything in his life. He even used his aura to suppress Lu Ming. But how long had it been? Not only did Lu Ming cultivate the wind and fire concepts, but he also cultivated the thunder concept. This was equivalent to Lu Ming repeatedly slapping him in the face. Damn it, little bastard. If I say that you're useless, You should be useless for your entire life. Now that you've cultivated to such a level, you're clearly going against me and causing me to lose face. This is a capital offense, a capital offense. The Thunder Palace master roared in his heart, and his eyes were extremely sinister. As soon as Lu Ming's concept of lightning appeared, it shook the entire audience and set off a monstrous clamor. Even Xue Chao himself was incomparably shocked. He retreated a few steps and even forgot to attack. Lu Ming's aura was wild as the three different mentalities intertwined together. Holding the long spear in one hand, he walked step by step towards Xue Chao. Xue Chao, bring out your full strength. That's all you've got. You disappoint me. Lu Ming berated. Lu Ming, do you think you can fight me just because you've unleashed three concepts? Naive. Die. Xue Chao forced himself to calm down, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Kill. Kill. He must kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too strong, making him tremble with fear. As for Chiu Chongkong, he was in the crowd. His face had already turned pale. Purple lightning, thousand sword slash. Xue Chao roared and raised his strength to the peak. He slashed out with his battle sword, and countless lightning sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. Thousand dragons kill. Lu Ming executed the second move of the three ultimate skills of the dragon god: wind, fire, and lightning. The three mentalities merged together and pierced out with the long spear. Instantly, dragon roars resounded. Countless small two-colored true dragons flew out and pounced towards the sword chi. Yes, it was still two-colored because the lightning mentalities hadn't completely merged with the wind and fire mentalities. Although they hadn't merged, Lu Ming's battle prowess had increased greatly with the addition of the lightning mentalities. Boom, boom. The lightning sword chi clashed with the two-colored true dragons and exploded like fireworks. In just a few breaths, thousands of explosions rang out. Kill! Kill! Two loud roars rang out. Lu Ming and Xue Chao shuttled through the turbulent energy waves and clashed heavily. Boom! Boom! The two of them clashed continuously. The sword chi and the spear light shot up tens of thousands of meters into the sky and stirred up the clouds. At the scene, everyone held their breaths and stared blankly at the two of them. Not enough. The pressure isn't enough. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Although Xue Chao was slightly stronger than him, it was very limited and couldn't give him enough pressure to merge the wind and fire mentalities. Xue Chao, is this all you've got? Martial King? I think you're the trashiest Martial King, right? If I were you, I would just cripple my own cultivation. Lu Ming shouted, full of disdain. The crowd was speechless. Although Xue Chao had just broken through to Martial King, he was definitely not the trashiest Martial King. Xue Chao himself was a terrifying genius. When he was a martial ancestor, he was a four-battle genius. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been chosen by the Thunder Palace master and taken in as a disciple. A four-battle genius from the martial ancestor realm wouldn't be the trashiest Martial King. His battle prowess wouldn't be too weak. However, in Lu Ming's words, he was the trashiest Martial King. The Thunder Palace master was so angry that his lips trembled. As for Xue Chao, he was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. At this point in the battle, Xue Chao knew that he was destined to become a laughingstock. However, he still had a chance. As long as he defeated Lu Ming, he would be able to save some face. He clenched his teeth and roared, "Lu Ming, you forced me to do this. You forced me to do this." Xue Chao roared as his finger emitted a glow. A pill appeared and was swallowed by him. Bang! After Xue Chao swallowed the pill, the true chi in his body went berserk as if it had gone mad. It was now twice as strong as before. Die! Xue Chao's eyes were bloodshot as his hair danced in the wind. He held the thunderous battle sword in his hand and charged toward Lu Ming. The increase in the strength of his true qi greatly increased his battle prowess. Dang! Lu Ming exchanged blows with Xue Chao. He could feel a surge of violent energy surging toward him, causing his body to involuntarily retreat. Such a powerful force. Haha, just nice. Lu Ming was filled with battle intent. However, the crowd was in an uproar. That's the energy burst pill. Xue Chao actually took the energy burst pill. How despicable. Once the energy burst pill is taken, one's true qi will go berserk and become twice as strong as before. However, the side effects are also very severe. After the effect of the pill wears off, one's true qi will become impure and even sluggish. There will be a long period of weakness, and one will have to pay a huge price to recover. Especially for someone like Xue Chao who has just broken through. The energy burst pill is equivalent to a poisonous pill. If he doesn't handle it well, his future path of martial arts will be cut off. He's being forced into a corner. Discussions broke out all around. Thunder Palace Master, Xue Chao has already violated the rules. In the sky, the Wind Palace Master's face turned ugly as he looked at the Thunder Palace Master. Violated the rules? How so? Before the competition, there was no rule that forbade the use of external force. The Thunder Palace Master said coldly, "You are really despicable." The Wind Palace Master was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Indeed, before the competition, who would have thought of this? Who would have thought that Xue Chao would use external force? Everyone thought that Xue Chao would definitely win. They were not worried that Lu Ming would use external force, which was already considered good. Die, little bastard, die! In the crowd, Sheng Wushuang roared. This battle was not only related to his reputation, but also related to 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals. Naturally, he would pay special attention to it. Boom! At this moment, the battle in the fighting ring continued. With the help of the energy burst pill, Xue Chao madly attacked Lu Ming. Die. Chapter 459. He was well aware of the side effects of the energy burst elixir. He had never thought of taking it. The energy burst elixir was for him to save his life at a critical moment, but he had no choice because of Lu Ming. Today he had to win. He had no way out. Once he lost, not only would he lose face, but he would also lose 80,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals. To him, 80,000 supreme-grade spiritual crystals was an astronomical figure that he could not bear. Therefore, he blamed everything on Lu Ming. He wanted to eat his flesh and drink his blood. Boom! Xue Chao held the lightning sword and attacked Lu Ming violently. Lu Ming blocked with his long spear. Three wills intertwined as he fought with Xue Chao. Boom! Boom! The fighting ring shook continuously. Wills filled the air, and true Yuan shot out. Lu Ming cultivated the true dragon battle art. He had reached the 9th level and had 10 times the true qi. Although he had only converted 50% of it, the other half was still true qi. When he circulated it, it was somewhat obscure and could not explode with his full strength. However, it was still comparable to Xue Chao's true yuan. In terms of wills, the 3 wills combined were still incomparable to a wills that had condensed a will's rune. However, with the addition of the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god, the power would not be too far off. Therefore, Lu Ming could fight with Xue Chao. However, after Xue Chao swallowed the energy burst elixir, Lu Ming was completely at a disadvantage. However, Lu Ming was even more excited. Yes, this is the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He used the 3 wills to the extreme. The 3 wills intertwined together and clashed with Xue Chao. He felt that the thunder wills were merging with the wind and fire wills. Although it was slow, it was indeed merging. "Ha ha, fight, fight!" Lu Ming roared and used all his strength to fight against Xue Chao. However, he was still at a disadvantage. He was suppressed by Xue Chao's violent attacks and kept retreating. This situation fell into the eyes of others, but they did not think so. They did not know Lu Ming's plan. Lu Ming is going to lose. He's been completely suppressed. That's right. Right now, he's only resisting stubbornly. However, he won't be able to resist for long. Once he's defeated, he'll have to face Xue Chao's storm-like attacks. At that time, he'll probably be defeated and killed. If I were Lu Ming, I would admit defeat now. It's already a great honor to be able to fight a king to this extent. In the past 1,000 years, only Yan Kuangtu from 100 years ago could do this. That's right. If Lu Ming can maintain this momentum, his future achievements will be limitless. It would be a pity if he were to die at Xue Chao's hands. By now, more and more people had gathered to watch. There were already more than 20,000 people. Even one of the 9 hall masters had come. Some people were gloating, while others were worried for Lu Ming. I'm certain that Lu Ming will be defeated within 20 moves. Someone said affirmatively. Soon, 20 moves had passed. Lu Ming was still holding on, although the situation didn't look good. Cough, cough. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be so tenacious. This is his will to live supporting him. However, it's useless. This time, he'll be defeated within 30 moves. The person who previously said that Lu Ming would be defeated within 20 moves coughed a few times and spoke again. Soon, another 30 moves had passed. Lu Ming was still holding on. Cough, cough, cough. This time, Lu Ming will definitely be defeated within 50 moves. That person kept coughing. He was very embarrassed, but his mouth was very cheap, and he came to a conclusion. The people around him looked at him with disdain and stayed far away from him. Lu Ming didn't know about any of this, nor would he pay attention to it. Now, all his thoughts were on the 3 wills. Soon, soon, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's eyes became brighter and brighter. Boom. Suddenly, the 3 wills roared. Then, with a boom, they merged into one. The fusion was successful. The 3 wills of wind, fire, and thunder had finally merged into one. When the 3 wills merged, the power of the 3 unique skills of the dragon god automatically evolved from low heaven level to high heaven level. In other words, Lu Ming now directly possessed the power of the 3rd level of a high heaven level martial skill. Roar! With a thrust of the spear, a tricolor dragon flew out. The dragon's roar shook the sky. Its aura was extremely terrifying, and it was several times stronger than before. How could this be? What's going on? Xue Chao was shocked. Bang! Bang! The thunder sword light that he unleashed with all his strength instantly collapsed in front of the tricolor dragon like trash. The tricolor dragon pounced and clawed at Xue Chao's body. Xue Chao screamed, and his body flew far away. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear shook, and his body rushed out. The long spear lashed out and hit Xue Chao's body. Suddenly, the sound of bones breaking was heard. Xue Chao's body flew along the fighting ring. After flying for more than 1,000 meters, Xue Chao lay on the ground, coughing up blood and twitching nonstop. He was half dead. Everyone's eyes were about to explode. They were tongue-tied as they watched in a daze. Hey, did I stare too hard just now and get dizzy? Am I hallucinating? I actually saw Lu Ming suddenly explode and beat Xue Chao half to death. Don't you think it's funny? No way you saw it too. I thought I was seeing things. It can't be real, right? One is seeing things, 2 are seeing things, but it can't be all 3. I fucking saw it too. Nestle, Nestle, it can't be. Could this be real? Are we dreaming? Lu Ming actually suddenly erupted and won? How is this possible? How is this possible? Yeah, he was obviously being suppressed. How could he suddenly win? Is he cheating? Everyone looked at the scene in disbelief. They couldn't understand. In the end, they could only think of Lu Ming cheating. Cheating, Lu Ming, you despicable bastard. How dare you cheat in the battle? Qiu Changkong flew out and screamed hysterically. Lu Ming could actually defeat Xue Chao, a challenger. Qiu Changkong couldn't accept it. Idiot! Lu Ming glanced at Qiu Changkong indifferently. What did you say? You cheated, and you don't allow others to talk about it. How dare you? Tell me, how did you cheat? Tell me honestly. There are so many people here, including the palace masters. How can you be so presumptuous? Qiu Changkong roared. Qiu Changkong, don't go overboard. Even Xue Chao could use the energy burst pill. Even if Brother Lu used some tricks, it's not overboard. Jian Fengyan flew out from the crowd and said loudly. He also thought that Lu Ming must have used some tricks. However, if Xue Chao could use the energy burst pill, why couldn't Lu Ming use some tricks? He definitely didn't use any ordinary tricks. He must have used some despicable tricks. Qiu Changkong argued, not letting go of Lu Ming. That's right, Lu Ming. This battle doesn't count. Cancel our bet. Sheng Wushuang shouted. Cancel? Sheng Wushuang. You want to go back on your words after losing? Do you think you can do that? Hand over the supreme grade spiritual crystals. Chapter 460. Sheng Wushuang's expression changed as he shouted, Lu Ming, what are you doing? You're the one who cheated first. Nonsense! Lu Ming scolded as he moved his body and clawed at Sheng Wushuang. You have to hand it over today. Lu Ming's cold voice resounded. You, Lu Ming, don't think I'm afraid of you. It's just cheating. Die! Sheng Wushuang roared as his terrifying aura erupted. Sheng Wushuang was very close to the martial king realm. Whether it was the refinement of true essence or the comprehension of intent realm, he was very close to the martial king realm. His battle strength was also very terrifying. He had reached the level of a 5-battle genius. The sword mark on his forehead glowed, and an iron sword flew out and landed in Saint Wushuang's hand. He slashed out with the sword, and a mighty sword radiance filled the world as it slashed toward Lu Ming. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. Lu Ming's claw was surrounded by 3 different intent realms, and its power was terrifying. Sheng Wushuang's sword radiance was crushed like a bubble in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming's claw did not stop as he grabbed Sheng Wushuang's neck. Lu Ming squeezed hard, and a majestic true essence, wind, fire, and thunder intent realm poured into Sheng Wushuang's neck. Sheng Wushuang could not resist at all as Lu Ming grabbed him like a chick. Bam! Lu Ming flung Sheng Wushuang hard. Sheng Wushuang's body was like a toad as he was flung heavily onto the fighting ring. Boom! It was as if the fighting ring had been hit by a meteorite, making a violent roar and shaking nonstop. Crack! Crack! A jarring sound was heard as Sheng Wushuang's bones broke. Sheng Wushuang's body hit the fighting ring and bounced up high before falling down again. He bounced a few times like a rubber ball before coming to a stop. Puff! Sheng Wushuang spat out blood as if it was free. The people around felt their teeth ache and a chill run down their spines. Lu Ming was too violent. Once there was a disagreement, he took action. Most importantly, Sheng Wushuang, the number 1 genius of the 4 celestial divine guards, couldn't even last one move from Lu Ming. He was like a helpless chicken. However, their cultivation bases were clearly at the half-step king level. This was too shocking. The difference was too great. They were not on the same level at all. Not far away, Chiu Changkong was so scared that his whole body was trembling nonstop. There was not a trace of blood on his face, and he almost wet his pants. Even Sheng Wushuang couldn't block a single move from Lu Ming. If Sheng Wushuang wanted to deal with him, it would be no different from crushing an ant. What do you mean the number one genius of the four heavens, divine guards? You're just a piece of trash. How can such trash be qualified to be on the same level as me? Lu Ming glanced at Sheng Wushuang and said disdainfully, Puchi. These words caused Sheng Wushuang to vomit blood again. Hall masters, Lu Ming has gone too far. He used despicable means to win against Xue Chao. He must be severely punished. Saint Wushuang screamed. Enough! At this moment, the Hall Master of Wind shouted coldly. His voice wasn't loud, but it silenced everyone. Lu Ming didn't cheat. The Hall Master of Wind continued. Everyone was stunned. He didn't cheat? How is that possible? He was clearly at a disadvantage before. If he didn't cheat, how could he burst out with such power and defeat Xue Chao in one move? How is that possible? Sheng Wushuang couldn't accept it and shouted. Lu Ming didn't cheat, which meant that he would lose 30,000 spirit crystals. Are you doubting my words? The Hall Master of Wind looked coldly at Sheng Wushuang. Sheng Wushuang suddenly felt a chill and shouted, No, how would I dare to doubt the Hall Master? It's just that this matter is too strange. Lu Ming must give a reasonable explanation. Reasonable explanation? The reasonable explanation is that Lu Ming broke through in the battle. The Hall Master of Wind said coldly. Then he looked at Lu Ming with a gentle smile and deep amazement. Lu Ming, in the battle just now, you've completely merged the three essences of wind, fire, and thunder, right? The Hall Master is really insightful, Lu Ming said with a smile. He knew that he couldn't hide it from the Hall Masters. I recently encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation, and Xue Chao was looking for trouble with me. So I used him to practice. I didn't expect to break through in such a short time. Speaking of which, I have to thank him. Lu Ming smiled faintly and looked toward Xue Chao. At this moment, Xue Chao was a little more awake and struggled to get up. When he heard these words, he directly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Unconscious. It was qi. Everyone around was dumbfounded. It turned out that the reason Lu Ming challenged Xue Chao was to use him for cultivation. Most importantly, not only did he use Xue Chao for cultivation, but he also made such a big bet with him. It was too unkind. At the same time, they were also shocked by Lu Ming's talent. Different essences couldn't be merged in a casual battle. If it was that simple, everyone would have gone to cultivate. It was all because of Lu Ming's abnormal talent. In the fighting ring, Sheng Wushuang opened his mouth for a long time, but no words came out. What about me? Where are the spiritual crystals? Hurry up and take them out. Lu Ming walked to Sheng Wushuang's side and looked down at him. Sheng Wushuang was on the verge of tears, and his lips were trembling. 30,000 spiritual crystals. That was almost all of his wealth. He kept them to refine his true origin and break through to Martial King. How could he bear to part with them? The reason why he agreed to bet with Lu Ming was that he was sure to win and earn 30,000 spiritual crystals. Why not? If he knew that he would lose, he wouldn't have taken the bet. He looked at the Hall Masters in the sky with a pleading look. You bet and you lose. Give it to me. Hall Master Feng said coldly. Saint Wushuang's body trembled even more violently. He took out the jade box unwillingly and stared at it, unwilling to part with it. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and took the jade box. He scanned it and found that there were exactly 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals in it. It's just 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals. It's not a big deal. Do you have to make such an expression? Lu Ming said casually. He happily put the jade box into the Temple of Paragon. Puff! Sheng Wushuang was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his body trembled. Lu Ming's words were too infuriating. What did he mean by it was not a big deal? It was 30,000 top-grade spiritual crystals, not 30,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. Sheng Wushuang's face was pale, and he looked sad. He was out of his mind. Back then, he was so high and mighty. He looked as if he could judge everything. He gave pointers to Lu Ming like an elder giving pointers to a junior. He said that Lu Ming was not worthy to be his opponent in the future because he cultivated several types of intents, and his achievements were limited. How long had it been since then? In front of Lu Ming, he was like a dog that could be easily manipulated. Chapter 4, 61. Now that he thought about it, his expression back then was simply laughable. How could he give pointers to Lu Ming? How could he compare to Su Mo? He was right when he said that the gap between him and Lu Ming would only widen. It was just that Lu Ming was far ahead. Everyone's eyes swept over Sheng Wushuang. Many of them shook their heads and sighed. Sheng Wushuang was just born at the wrong time. It wasn't that he wasn't strong, but that Lu Ming was too strong. Lu Ming glanced at Sheng Wushuang indifferently and no longer looked at him. His body moved and appeared in front of Xue Chao. Lu Ming, what are you trying to do? Xue Chao has already lost. Do you dare to make another move? High up in the sky, Temple Master of Thunder's face was extremely gloomy. Who said I'm going to make another move? I'm just going to take the prize that I won. Lu Ming smiled and flicked his finger, sending a stream of true essence into Xue Chao's body. Xue Chao cried out and came to his senses. When he saw Lu Ming in front of him, he screamed in fright, Lu Ming, what are you trying to do? Lu Ming was speechless. He curled his lips and said, Xue Chao, you've lost. Hand over the 80,000 supreme spiritual crystals. At this moment, he wanted to die. Previously, he had the same thought as Sheng Wushuang. He thought that he would definitely win, so he agreed to bet 80,000 supreme spiritual crystals. He never expected that he would lose. 80,000 supreme spiritual crystals. Xue Chao had never had so many supreme spiritual crystals in his life. They were lent to him by his master, and he definitely had to return them. His heart trembled, and he cast a pleading look at Temple Master of Thunder. Temple Master of Thunder's eyes flickered, and he turned his head away. There were 5 Temple Masters present, and he wasn't the only one. If he was alone, things would be easier. But with so many Temple Masters present, he didn't dare to overstep his boundaries. Xue Chao, you must accept your loss. Your master is useless. Hand over the spiritual crystals. The faint voice of the Wind Palace Master sounded. Xue Chao's body trembled. With a pale face, he took out a storage ring. It was the one that the Thunder Palace Master had given him. Lu Ming took it with a smile. He scanned it with his mind, and after confirming that there was no mistake, he put it away. Thanks. I've been lacking spiritual crystals recently, Lu Ming added with a smile, his heart bursting with joy. In such a short period of time, he had earned 110,000 spiritual crystals. These spiritual crystals were too easy to earn. It was even faster than robbing people. Now, Lu Ming had enough spirit crystals to refine his quintessential essence. Xue Chao almost fainted from anger. Lu Ming, are you willing to take me as your master? I won't ask you to only cultivate one type of concept. You can cultivate as many types as you want. I'll only be responsible for teaching you the concept of wind. How about it? Right at this moment, the Wind Hall Master suddenly spoke. Lu Ming was stunned. He hadn't expected the Wind Hall Master to suddenly ask to take him as his disciple. Lu Ming, I'm also willing to take you as my disciple. Are you willing to take me as your master? My conditions are the same as Old Man Feng's. I won't restrict you from cultivating other concepts. I'll only teach you the concept of fire. At this moment, the Fire Hall Master also spoke. The others were shocked. They all looked at Lu Ming in a daze, revealing looks of envy. The Wind Hall Master and the Fire Hall Master both spoke at the same time. They wanted to take Lu Ming as their disciple, and they wouldn't interfere with his cultivation of other concepts. In other words, Lu Ming could take several people as his master at the same time. In this way, Lu Ming could take the Wind Hall Master and the Fire Hall Master as his master at the same time. How could they not be envious? It was extremely difficult for ordinary geniuses to take a Hall Master as their master. How could it be like now, when several Hall Masters wanted to take Lu Ming as their disciple? However, on second thought, it was normal. The talent that Lu Ming had displayed was too shocking. His future was limitless. If they could take him as their disciple, their faction would definitely be able to flourish in the future. In addition, the Metal Hall Master and the Earth Hall Master were also tempted. Unfortunately, their concepts didn't match Lu Ming's. Naturally, they couldn't take Lu Ming as their disciple. They could only look at the Wind Hall Master and the Fire Hall Master with envy. Look, Lu Ming is stunned. He must be so happy that he's stunned, right? Some people said sourly. At this moment, Lu Ming wasn't stunned. He was thinking and hesitating. Yes, Lu Ming was hesitating. The benefits of being able to take the two Hall Masters as his master were self-evident. Not only would he have two powerful backers, but if he could receive guidance from the two Hall Masters in the wind and fire intent, he would definitely be able to avoid many detours. Lu Ming was very tempted by these 2 points. However, Lu Ming was still worried. Lu Ming had too many secrets. Not only did he cultivate divine-grade cultivation techniques, but he also cultivated divine-grade martial skills. He also had the 9-dragon bloodline and the Temple of Paragon. Some secrets couldn't be seen at first glance. However, if he took them as his master and stayed too close to them, it was hard to guarantee that the Hall Masters wouldn't notice. At that time, these secrets would be exposed, and he would be in danger. Not to mention many. As long as one of them was exposed, it was hard to guarantee that the Hall Masters wouldn't kill him and steal his treasures. Lu Ming had to consider this point. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming gritted his teeth and made a decision. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed to the Wind and Fire Temple Master, saying, "Lu Ming thanks the 2 Hall Masters for their kindness." However, Lu Ming once took a master and swore that he would never take another master as his master. Here, Lu Ming can only disappoint the 2 Hall Masters. Lu Ming made up an excuse at the last minute. As soon as he said this, the crowd was shocked and clamored. What? Lu Ming actually rejected it. He actually rejected it. Nestle, did I hear wrong? The 2 Hall Masters want to take him as their disciple at the same time and won't interfere with his cultivation of other intents. He actually rejected such good conditions. This is too infuriating. Heavens, if he doesn't want this opportunity, give it to me. Just give me half of it. Many people shouted. However, now, no one said that Lu Ming was arrogant. If it was before today, if Lu Ming rejected the 2 Hall Masters' kindness, there would definitely be a group of people who would stand up and scold him, saying that he was overestimating himself, and that he didn't put the Hall Masters in his eyes. But now, even if there were people who thought so, no one dared to scold him. They were afraid that if Lu Ming's cultivation improved greatly after a period of time, their faces would be slapped, swollen. The Wind and Fire Temple Masters were also stunned. They didn't expect Lu Ming to reject them. Lu Ming, why don't you think about it again? The Wind Temple Master said. This junior is very grateful for the Wind Temple Master's kindness, but there is an oath that this junior can't go against. Otherwise, I will become an ungrateful person who doesn't respect his masters. Lu Ming cupped his fists again and said, seeing this, the Wind Temple Master knew that Lu Ming had made up his mind and let out a long sigh. It was a pity to miss such a good talent. At the side, the Wind Temple Master's eyes flashed with joy. Good, good. Lu Ming, if you become the disciple of the Wind Temple Master and the Fire Temple Master, then things will be difficult. Now that you have rejected them, you are courting death. Chapter 462. But right then, Lu Ming suddenly opened his mouth, which shocked everyone. Was Lu Ming going to change his mind? Lu Ming waved his hand slightly, and the sword-shaped plant appeared in the air again. The 9 sword-like leaves exploded with bright sword intent, stirring up the wind and clouds. The palace leaders of Wind, Fire, and Gold all stared at the sword-shaped plant with excitement in their eyes. I am willing to sell this sword-shaped plant to all of you. Lu Ming opened his mouth. Great. Lu Ming, I will give you 120,000 top-rank spiritual crystals. The palace leader of Wind immediately opened his mouth. It was 20,000 more than the 100,000 he offered before. I will give you 150,000 top-rank spiritual crystals. I am determined to get this sword-shaped plant. Don't fight with me for it. The palace leader of Gold said. Don't fight with you? Old man Gold, you are dreaming. Let me tell you, I am determined to get this sword-shaped plant as well. The palace leader of Wind said coldly, not giving in at all. Damn it, Lu Ming, that bastard, wants to sell this sword-shaped plant. Damn it, this sword-shaped plant is mine. The palace leader of Thunder screamed in his mind, his eyes burning with anger. Initially, he was still thinking of how to get his hands on Lu Ming's sword-shaped herb. But if Lu Ming sold it to another palace leader, then his plan would be ruined. He was also very interested in this sword-shaped plant and wanted to buy it as well. But he could not open his mouth. Even if he did, Lu Ming would not sell it to him. His killing intent towards Lu Ming became even more intense. The palace leaders started to argue with each other. Among the 5 palace leaders, besides the palace leader of Earth, the others were all sword cultivators. They all wanted the sword-shaped plant very much. Seniors, please listen to me. Right then, Lu Ming opened his mouth again. His clear voice was heard from afar. The palace leaders quieted down all of a sudden, looking at Lu Ming. Palace leaders, I have a suggestion. Is it okay? Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, speak. The Wind Palace Master said. Lu Ming nodded and said, Leaders, this sword-shaped plant, I do not want to sell it for so many top-rank spiritual crystals. Just like the previous bet, I only need 80,000 top-rank spiritual crystals. However, I will not sell it to one person, but to all of you at the same time. This way, all of you can study it together in the future. Isn't that better? Several people comprehending together, the hall masters were taken aback for a moment. After a brief moment of consideration, they nodded in agreement. I have no objections. The Fire Palace Master said. I don't have a concept either. Old Man Jean, what about you? Wind Palace Master looked at Metal Palace Master. Since none of you have any objections, I naturally have no objections either. Palace Master Jean G also said, All right, I'll sell it to Wind, Fire, and Gold Palace Masters at the same time. You only need to pay 80,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Ming smiled. He directly ignored Thunder Palace Master, which made Thunder Palace Master grit his teeth even more. Looming 80,000 Supreme Grade Spirit Crystals is too little. This sword-shaped herb can be easily sold for hundreds of thousands of Supreme Grade Spirit Crystals in the market. How about this? The three of us will each pay 40,000 Supreme Grade Spirit Crystals, a total of 120,000 Supreme Grade Spirit Crystals, to buy this sword-shaped herb. Wind Palace Master said. All right, let's do it. Fire and Metal Palace Masters nodded. Then, the three of them each took out 40,000 top-grade spiritual crystals for a total of 120,000 and gave it to Lu Ming. Thank you, seniors. Lu Ming was overjoyed and gave the sword-shaped plant to the three palace masters. Ha ha, Lu Ming, even if you don't have me as your teacher, if you have any questions about the concept of wind in the future, you can come to me. I will tell you everything I know. After getting the sword-shaped plant, Wind Palace Master was obviously in a good mood. Lu Ming, if you have anything you don't understand about the concept of fire, you can also come to me. Fire Palace Master also smiled. The others were so envious that they almost went crazy. Lu Ming's treatment was too good, wasn't it? Ahem, Lu Ming, if you are interested in the concept of gold in the future, you can come to me. I will teach you with all my heart. Gold Palace Master coughed a few times and said, Hey, old Monster Gene, don't mislead him. Wind Palace Master glared at Gold Palace Master and shouted. But in the next moment, he thought of Lu Ming's insane talent and shut his mouth. Who could guarantee that Lu Ming would not be interested in the concept of gold in the future? Thank you, Gold Palace Master. If Lu Ming wants to comprehend the concept of gold, he will have to trouble you. However, Lu Ming still replied with a serious face. This made many people speechless. Could it be that Lu Ming was really aiming for the concept of gold? Come on, you've already comprehended 3 types of concepts, all right? Many people were speechless. Haha, then let's go. The Wind, Fire, and Metal Palace Masters smiled and said they could not wait to go back and study the sword-shaped herb. With a slight movement of their bodies, the 3 palace masters disappeared. Bring your senior brother and follow me back. Thunder Palace Master looked at Chiu Chong Kong and snorted coldly. He stepped into the air and disappeared as well. Chiu Chong Kong quickly brought Xue Chao and left. Then, the Earth Hall Master and the other protectors also left one by one. Just like that, the curtains of a thrilling, rarely seen challenge came to an end. Lu, Brother Lu, I haven't seen you for a while. Your achievements are unforgettable. Jian Fengyun flew towards Lu Ming and said with a sigh, Brother Jian, you are too polite. Lu Ming was just lucky. If Brother Jian is free, why don't you come to the East Sky Courtyard? Lu Ming said with a smile. Jian Fengyun was a righteous person, and Lu Ming recognized him. Just now, Jian Fengyun had also stood up for him. Sure, I have some questions about the martial Dao, and would like to ask Brother Lu. Jian Fengyun said with a flicker in his eyes. Then, the 2 of them flew into the air and headed towards the East Sky Courtyard. After Lu Ming left, the others quickly left as well. The news about the battle spread like a whirlwind. When Lu Ming and Jian Fengyun returned to the East Sky Courtyard, they sat down on the stone bench in the courtyard. Lu Ming took out a bottle of wine, and the 2 of them chatted while drinking. During this time, Jian Fengyun asked Lu Ming about comprehending the concept from force. Lu Ming had comprehended 3 concepts at the same time. He had a deep understanding of the concept from force. He told Jian Fengyun everything he knew and shared his experiences. After listening, Jian Fengyun's eyes lit up and his face was filled with joy. Obviously, he had learned a lot. 2 hours later, Jian Fengyun bid farewell and left. Continue to refine my true yuan. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with excitement. This time, he had obtained a total of 230,000 supreme spiritual crystals. In addition to the 10,000 supreme spiritual crystals from before, he had a total of 240,000 supreme spiritual crystals. It was simply a windfall. Bam! Bam! Immediately, Lu Ming took out 5,000 supreme spiritual crystals and exploded them to refine his true yuan. Chapter 463. 3 days later, in a hall of the Thunder Palace. Master, this disciple is useless. I deserve to die. Please punish me. Xue Chao knelt on the ground, his body trembling. The recovery ability of a king was extremely frightening. In 3 days, Xue Chao's injuries were almost healed. However, the side effects of the exploding yuan pill were not so easily healed. His face was still pale, and his aura was unstable. Beside Xue Chao stood Qiu Changkong, who was keeping quiet out of fear. The Thunder Palace master sat at the top, his face extremely gloomy. Waves of killing intent were emitted from his body. You are indeed a piece of trash. You are a king, but you actually lost to a half-step king. You have brought shame to your master. The Thunder Palace master's cold voice resounded. The killing intent on his body became even denser, causing Xue Chao's body to tremble even more. The atmosphere in the hall was extremely stifling. After a while, the Thunder Palace master's voice resounded again. However, it is not entirely your fault. Lu Ming, that little bastard's talent is indeed rare. It far surpasses ordinary geniuses. Even I was shocked. Master, are we going to let that bastard Lu Ming off just like that, and let him continue to be arrogant? Qiu Changkong said unwillingly. Of course not. That little bastard, Lu Ming, won't be able to live for long. The Thunder Palace master smiled eerily. Qiu Changkong and Xue Chao's eyes lit up. Qiu Changkong hurriedly said, Master, are you going to personally kill that bastard Lu Ming? Stupid. The Thunder Palace master scolded, causing Qiu Changkong's face to turn pale. That little bastard Lu Ming is very smart. A few days ago, he sold the sword-shaped grass to Old Feng and the others at a low price. It seemed like he suffered a loss, but he actually made a huge profit. At the same time, he won the favor of the 3 palace masters. Now, those 3 old fellows favor Lu Ming a lot. If I were to personally kill him, not only would I become a laughingstock, those 3 old fellows would also make things difficult for me. Why would I do such an unwise thing? The Thunder Palace master said. Then, how does Master plan to deal with Lu Ming? Xue Chao asked cautiously. Lu Ming has joined the Empyrean Divine Guards for a period of time. Everyone who joins the Empyrean Divine Guards for a period of time must complete a mission for the Empyrean Divine Palace. This is the duty of every Empyrean Divine Guard. The Thunder Palace master said slowly. Qiu Changkong and Xue Chao's eyes lit up. Master wants to tamper with this mission? Xue Chao asked. Hee, that's right. When the time comes, I will arrange a special mission for Lu Ming. As long as he dies in this mission, no one will suspect anything. Even if they suspect something, they will have no reason to make trouble for me. Thunder Palace master sneered. Master is wise. Qiu Changkong and Xue Chao were overjoyed, bowing deeply to the Lightning Temple master. Yes, Changkong, I know that you have old grudges with Lu Ming. The matters in your hometown, the Burning Sun Empire, have not been completely settled yet. After Lu Ming accepts that mission, you should return to the Burning Sun Empire and settle the matters there. Chao, go with Changkong and assist him. Thunder Palace master instructed. Thank you, master. Qiu Changkong was naturally overjoyed and thanked the Thunder Palace master. However, in the next moment, he revealed a worried expression and said, Master, Lu Ming is a lucky guy. He can always turn danger into safety. This disciple is worried that if Lu Ming is lucky enough to survive and knows that I returned to the Burning Sun Empire to deal with his family and friends, he might directly kill his way to the Burning Sun Empire. Now, Qiu Changkong was really scared of Lu Ming. He was scared to death. If Lu Ming didn't die and knew that he went back to deal with his family and friends, he would really be finished. Seeing Qiu Changkong's cowardly appearance, disappointment flashed across the Thunder Palace Master's eyes. He snorted coldly and said, "Are you doubting my arrangements?" Qiu Changkong's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly knelt down and said, "This disciple doesn't dare. This disciple doesn't dare. All right, let me tell you, I have already arranged everything perfectly. When Lu Ming is carrying out the mission, I will also find a way to let Lu Ming know that you have returned to the Burning Sun Empire to deal with his family. If he is lucky enough to survive and returns to the Burning Sun Empire, then he will really be dead." The Thunder Palace Master smiled proudly. "So, Master has already made arrangements. This disciple has been overthinking. This disciple admires Master's ability to devise strategies." Qiu Changkong was overjoyed and flattered his master. "Haha, all right. You guys just wait for the news. As long as Lu Ming accepts the mission and leaves, you guys can also leave." The Thunder Palace Master laughed proudly. Lu Ming was still refining his true yuan. It had already been 7 days. This time, Lu Ming had refined his true yuan for 7 days. In 7 days, Lu Ming had used up a total of 50,000 peak-grade spiritual crystals. After using 50,000 peak-grade spiritual crystals, Lu Ming finally converted his true yuan to 99%. In his body, 99% was true yuan, and only 1% was true qi. However, no matter how much Lu Ming refined his true yuan, the last 1% had no effect at all. Indeed, I need to break through to Martial King before my true yuan can reach 100% perfection. Lu Ming sighed. Under Martial King, one could not refine their true yuan to 100%, although it was only a 1% difference. The difference in strength was huge. 100% meant perfection. It was as smooth as one, and there was no obstruction in the circulation. As for 99%, it meant that there were impurities. The circulation and eruption of true yuan would not be smooth, and there would be obstacles. Now, as long as I can condense an intent talisman for one of the intents, I can break through to Martial King. Lu Ming pondered. Of the 3 intents, as long as one of them was broken through, Lu Ming could break through to Martial King. After breaking through to Martial King, it would be easier to cultivate the other 2 intents. Let's start with the intent of thunder. Ever since the thunder cauldron flew into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, Lu Ming felt like he was bathing in an ocean of intent of thunder. He had a new understanding of intent of thunder at all times. His intent of thunder had advanced by leaps and bounds. Now, among the 3 intents of wind, fire, and thunder, the intent of thunder had become the intent that Lu Ming had the deepest understanding of. Lu Ming closed his eyes, and his consciousness appeared in his sea of consciousness. He looked at the incomparably huge thunder cauldron. The thunder cauldron had not moved during this period, but it kept emitting powerful intent of thunder. Immediately, Lu Ming started to comprehend it. His understanding of intent of thunder deepened, and he was getting closer to being able to condense intent talismans. As long as he comprehended a certain intent to a certain extent, he would be able to materialize the intent and condense it into an intent talisman. In the blink of an eye, another 8 days passed. Half a month had passed since Xiao Chen challenged Xue Chao. On this particular day, a deacon came to the Eastern Sky Courtyard. The Eastern Sky Courtyard's intent of thunder reacted, and Lu Ming opened his eyes from cultivation. Then, he walked out of the Eastern Sky courtyard. Lu Ming, I am the deacon of the mission hall of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. You have been in the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace for some time now. You need to complete a mission for the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. Chapter 464. So, I have to do a mission. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He knew that he had to complete a mission after coming here for a while. What kind of mission is it? Lu Ming asked, after cultivating for such a long time. He also wanted to go out for a walk. Lu Ming, in view of your strength, the mission for you this time is a 2-star mission. Of course, if you think it's too difficult, you can withdraw from this mission. However, once you complete a 2-star mission, the reward will be very generous. The Mission Palace envoy said, Envoy, can I take a look at the mission first? Lu Ming asked, Okay, the content of the mission is in this jade token. Take a look. The Mission Palace envoy waved his hand, and a jade token appeared. Then he flew it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming reached out and took it. With a thought, the content of the jade token appeared in his mind. After a while, Lu Ming nodded and said, I'll take this 2-star mission. The Mission Palace envoy smiled and said, Good. You're not the only one who has taken this mission. There are a few others. Tomorrow morning, go to the mission reception hall in the Myriad Star City and meet them. Then we'll set off together. After saying that, the Mission Palace envoy turned and left. Lu Ming returned to the courtyard and thought about the content of the mission. The so-called 2-star missions were usually completed by 2nd-grade Empyrean Divine Guards. The 2nd-grade Empyrean Divine Guards were basically Martial King experts. Originally, Lu Ming was a rank 1 Emperor Sky Divine Guard and should not have taken on a 2-star mission. However, considering the combat strength he had displayed previously, it was normal for him to take on a 2-star mission. Moreover, Lu Ming also wanted to take on a challenging mission. To Lu Ming, a 1-star mission was not challenging at all. Moreover, after completing it, the reward would be very low. It was purely a waste of time. Then, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the thunder while in his sea of consciousness. A day passed quickly. The next morning, Lu Ming left the Emperor Sky Divine Palace. After arriving at the Myriad Star City, he went directly to the Mission Reception Hall. When Lu Ming walked into the Mission Reception Hall, he only saw 3 people gathered together. Of the 3 people, one was a young woman who was about 25 or 26 years old. She was quite good-looking, with graceful curves and a moving beauty. In addition, there was a skinny man in his 50s, and the last person was a burly man in his 30s. Each of them had a Mission Jade token in their hands. Lu Ming took out the Task Jade card and injected his true chi. Wong. The Mission Jade plates trembled slightly and glowed on their own. At the same time, the Mission Jade plates in the other 3 people's hands also trembled slightly and glowed, resonating with Lu Ming's jade plate. It's them. Lu Ming smiled and walked up to them. He cupped his fists and said, The 3 of you, are you also heading to the northern Liang Mountain to investigate the extermination of 2 sects? Not bad. The burly man in his 30s stood up and cupped his fists towards Lu Ming. However, after he carefully sized up Lu Ming, he frowned. What? The 4th person is you? You're only a half-martial warrior. How could you accept a 2-starred mission? Suddenly, the woman yelled with a tone filled with disdain. Lu Ming frowned slightly and said, What's wrong? I'm indeed a half-martial warrior. Can't I accept a 2-starred mission? Haha, what a joke. Kid, do you know what a 2-starred mission means? A 2-star mission represents a mission that only Martial Kings can take on. The 3 of us are all 1st-layer Martial Kings and are all 2nd-layer Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. Furthermore, A 2-starred mission is dangerous even for martial emperors. You're only a half-martial warrior, yet you dare to accept a 2-starred mission. Are you courting death? I really don't know what the people in the mission hall are thinking. Why would they assign a piece of trash to this mission? The young woman looked at Lu Ming with disdain and said loudly, "Hee hee, first layer martial emperor, is it that great?" Lu Ming's face darkened as he said with a cold smile, "First layer martial emperor is nothing. However, I only need one move to kill you. Kid, I advise you to get lost." The young woman said. "That's enough." Huang Jing stopped talking. At this moment, the burly man said softly. The young woman seemed to be afraid of the burly man. She snorted and shut her mouth, not saying anything else. The burly man smiled and said, "Little brother, I'm sorry. Huang Jing is a bit hot-tempered. Please don't take offense." Lu Ming laughed coldly and did not say anything. The burly man said again, "However, little brother, to be honest, this mission is not something you can accept. Did the mission hall make a mistake? I advise you to go back to the mission hall and apply for another mission." "No need. I've already confirmed this mission. It's suitable for me." Lu Ming said. "Suitable for you? Haha, what a joke. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Let me tell you, if you're not a martial emperor, you're just an ant. Kid, you can follow us shamelessly, but let me tell you, when you're in danger, we won't help you. Don't even think about dragging us down." The young woman sneered. Hee hee, don't worry. I'm afraid you'll drag me down." Lu Ming retorted. "What's the use of having a sharp tongue?" The young woman snorted and walked to the side, not saying anything else. "All right, since that's the case, let's go together. However, little brother, if you're really in danger, you'd better run quickly. We won't be able to take care of you then," the burly man said. "Don't worry," Lu Ming said. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's Zhenyuan had transformed to 99%. His thunder intent domain was also constantly improving. His battle strength had increased by another level since the battle with Xue Chao half a month ago. Lu Ming was confident that he was not weaker than some veteran martial emperors. The burly man smiled bitterly. He really did not know where Lu Ming's confidence came from. Then the burly man introduced himself. "I'm Su Zhong." Then he pointed at the skinny man in his 50s who had not spoken and said, "This is Song Ku." Lu Ming cupped his fists and nodded at Song Ku. "You already know the name of the last one. Little brother, how should I address you?" Su Zhong asked. "Oh, I'm..." Lu Ming was about to introduce himself when he was interrupted by Huang Jing. "You don't have to introduce yourself. He won't live for long, anyway." Huang Jing snorted coldly. Lu Ming sneered and did not bother to introduce himself. He stood aside. "All right, let's go then." Su Zhong came out to smooth things over. Then, the four of them left the mission reception hall and soared into the sky, heading north of Myriad Star City. Their mission this time was to go to northern Liang Mountain to investigate the murder of a senior member of a sect. During this period of time, there were a total of 2 sects in northern Liang Mountain. The senior members of the martial ancestor realm and above were innocently slaughtered. The strange thing was that their corpses were all gone after the incident. Chapter 465. Even with martial king experts guarding the place, they were still slaughtered. This meant that the culprit was definitely a martial king expert. Their mission was to find the culprit and take him down or kill him. The northern Liang Mountain was located in the north of the eastern part of the Tianxian region. It was 13 million li away from the Myriad Star City. However, with the group's speed, they arrived in 3 days. First, they had to go to the biggest city in the northern Liang Mountain area, Northern Liang City. There was a station of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace in northern Liang City. There were already 2 second-grade Emperor Heaven Divine guards there to investigate. Their first task was to meet up with these 2 second-grade Emperor Heaven Divine guards and understand the situation. In the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, not all the Emperor Heaven Divine guards were like Lu Ming and the others. They were all young geniuses. Among the Emperor Heaven Divine guards, there were many older ones. It could be said that there were people of all ages. The Emperor Heaven Divine Guard selection held every 5 years was to recruit geniuses with talent and potential and nurture them. These young Empyrean Divine Guards were undoubtedly treated much better. However, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace would recruit some Emperor Heaven Divine Guards through other methods every year. These Emperor Heaven Divine Guards could join as long as one's identity was clear and one's strength was sufficient. There were no requirements for talent. As for these Emperor Heaven Divine Guards, they were not treated as well as Lu Ming and the others. They were taught by the Palace Master. They had to rely on themselves to complete various missions for the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards and obtain various rewards. Su Zhong and Song Ku were both such Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. Lu Ming guessed that Huang Jing should be the same as him. She should be a genius participating in the Emperor Heaven Divine Guard selection. Judging from her age, she should be from the previous batch. Soon, a desolate ancient city appeared before their eyes. The ancient city was very majestic and filled with the aura of time. The 4 of them flew in and arrived at the station of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. They also successfully met the other 2 Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. The other 2 people were a white-haired old man and a bald man in his 40s. The 2 of them emitted powerful auras. With one look, one could tell that they were martial king experts. This bald man should be about the same as Su Zhong. He has reached the peak of martial king realm. He is the strongest among the group. Lu Ming thought to himself, "Brother Su, you're finally here." When the bald man saw Su Zhong, he laughed and cupped his fists. "Brother Wang." Su Zhong cupped his fists and said. The bald man's gaze swept over Lu Ming and the others, and his complexion abruptly changed. "Brother Su, what happened? Why is there a little fellow at the half-step king realm with all of you?" The bald man said. Su Zhong smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Wang, this little brother is also here to complete the mission." "What? Was he also here to complete the mission? What kind of joke was this? A mere half-step king? Are you courting death? Don't drag us down with you." The bald man shouted, "Brother Wang is right. I've already told him to scram back to the mission hall and cancel the mission, but he was stubborn and insisted on following us. He's courting death. We'll just ignore him when the time comes." Huang Jing said coldly, "Forget it. If he wants to follow us, then let him. In any case, we won't have the energy to take care of him when the time comes." The bald man said. Then he no longer looked at Lu Ming. "They're really looking down on us." Lu Ming rubbed his nose. However, he also knew that it was normal for kings to look down on cultivators below the king realm. He ignored them and sat down on a stone bench at the side. "Brother Wang, what's the situation?" Su Zhong asked the bald man about the situation. "This time, it's mainly the Tianyun sect and the illusory sword sect that were attacked. All the cultivators above the martial ancestor realm in the 2 sects disappeared. Not even their corpses were left behind. I'll take you to the 2 sects to take a look first, and then I'll tell you the details." The bald man said. "All right, then we'll set off immediately." Su Zhong nodded. Immediately, the group of 6 headed towards the Tianyun sect. The Tianyun sect was built on a mountain range. Clouds and mist were faintly discernible, and the mountain range was extremely majestic. It was like a fairyland. There were many palaces and pavilions built on the mountain peaks, and people were coming and going. Lu Ming felt that the Tianyun sect was at least 10 times stronger than the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Thinking about it, it made sense. With a martial king in charge, it was equivalent to an intermediate empire. How could it not be strong? However, Lu Ming sensed carefully and did not feel any strong aura in the sect. Whoosh, whoosh. A few streaks of light flew out from the Tianyun sect. They were martial ancestor realm cultivators. These martial ancestor realm cultivators were not in the Tianyun sect on the day of the attack. Therefore, they managed to escape. The bald man explained. Soon, the few of them appeared in front of the group. Greetings to Senior Wang and Senior Lu. The few martial ancestor realm cultivators of the Tianyun sect hurriedly bowed when they saw the bald man and the white-haired elder. These three are also kings from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The bald man pointed at Su Zhong and the other two, ignoring Lu Ming. Greetings to the three seniors. The few martial ancestor realm cultivators of the Tianyun sect bowed respectfully. Their hearts were trembling. They were shocked that so many kings had come at once. All right, we still have to go in and investigate. You guys lead the way. The bald man instructed. All right, seniors, please. The leader of the few martial ancestor realm cultivators of the Tianyun sect was a scholarly middle-aged man. He hurriedly said respectfully. The group followed the scholarly middle-aged man and the others and flew into the Tianyun sect. This time, our sect was attacked suddenly. All the experts above the martial ancestor realm have disappeared. The scholarly middle-aged man said with a sad face. Moreover, the strangest thing is that according to the situation at the scene and the reaction of the disciples below the martial ancestor realm, those martial ancestor realm experts did not make a sound and disappeared directly. Only the place where the martial king realm patriarch of our sect was in seclusion caused a huge commotion. There were also some traces left at the scene. The scholarly middle-aged man continued to explain and led them to the place where the patriarch of the Tianyun sect was in seclusion. It was a mountain full of spiritual qi. However, at this moment, the mountain had almost collapsed. There was a deep crack in the middle of the mountain. That was the scar of a blade that had almost split the mountain in half. The group flew down and observed carefully. They also found some traces that seemed to have been made by iron chains. Iron chains? What kind of weapon is this? Su Zhong frowned deeply. According to the situation, the person who attacked must be a martial king realm expert. Therefore, the martial ancestor realm experts did not have the slightest ability to resist. However, the other party could not be too strong. Otherwise, the patriarch of the Tianyun sect would not have been able to resist so fiercely. Huang Jing analyzed. However, according to the disciples, the battle was extremely short. It ended in less than a minute. After that, the patriarch disappeared without a trace. The scholarly middle-aged man added, It's very likely that the other party had more than one king realm expert. Su Zhong frowned and pondered. Lu Ming also looked around carefully. What can a half-step king see? He's just pretending. Huang Jing snorted coldly. Lu Ming was speechless. This woman must be crazy to always pick on him. Chapter 466. After observing for a while, they left the Tianyun sect for the illusory sword sect. The strength of the illusory sword sect was similar to that of the Tianyun sect. They also had a first-layer martial king realm ancestor. The situation was similar to that of the Tianyun sect. Everyone above the martial ancestor realm, including the martial king realm ancestor, had disappeared. Not even their corpses were found. The traces left behind at the scene were similar to that of the Tianyun sect. Su Zhong and the others frowned. This situation was indeed strange. They might have more than 2 Martial King Realm experts. We have to be careful, Su Zhong said in a deep voice. He then looked at the bald man and asked, Brother Wang, you've investigated for a few days. Have you found anything? Discovered? Of course we have. Furthermore, we have already deduced the next target of the enemy. The bald man smiled proudly. What? That's great. Su Zhong, Huang Jing, and the others were overjoyed. According to my speculation, their next target will be the Black Lion Hall. The Black Lion Hall is similar to that of the Tianyun sect and the Illusory Sword sect. They only have a first-layer Martial King Realm expert. We just need to wait for them to make a move. After they succeed, we'll find their nest and wipe them out. The bald man said, Brother Wang, that's a good idea. Let's do it then. Let's not waste any time. We'll set up an ambush around the Black Lion Hall and wait for them to take the bait, Su Zhong said. Immediately, the 6 of them headed toward the Black Lion Hall. The Black Lion Hall was located in a huge mountain range. From afar, the mountain range looked like a ferocious lion. Lion roars could be heard coming from the mountain range, shaking the surrounding 10 miles. The 6 of them found a secluded valley in the Black Lion mountain range and waited quietly. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the crown of a huge tree. He hid his body with the help of the branches and leaves. At the same time, he restrained his aura, making him look like a piece of dead wood. Lu Ming observed the surroundings with a trace of his consciousness. Most of his consciousness sank into his mind to comprehend the thunder intent. He didn't dare to get too close to the lightning cauldron, because the closer he got, the stronger the concept of thunder, the greater the pressure he would feel. It was extremely dangerous, and if he wasn't careful, his mind would collapse and his soul would scatter. Just like that, a day passed without any movement. The next day, there was still no movement. The next day, late at night, woo-woo, suddenly gusts of chilly wind blew between heaven and earth. It was bone-chilling. He's here. The bald man pointed to the sky and said excitedly. Of course, his voice was very low and only the few of them could hear him. Everyone looked up at the sky. In the distance, a dark cloud drifted over. Within the dark cloud, a black shadow was faintly discernible. What's in the dark clouds? It doesn't look like a human figure. Huang Jing said. That dark cloud was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above the Black Lion mountain range. If not for their high cultivation, they would not have noticed it at all. When they reached the sky above the Black Lion mountain range, the dark clouds finally dispersed, revealing the real thing inside. What's that? Everyone's pupils suddenly constricted. What appeared in the dark clouds was actually 3 coffins. 3 incomparably huge coffins. Each coffin was at least 100 meters long. They were pitch black and floated in the air. It was very terrifying. Whoosh! The 3 coffins rushed into the depths of the Black Lion mountain range with a whoosh. Not long after, who's there? A furious roar came from the Black Lion mountain range. Then, a huge black lion that was as big as a mountain range appeared in the sky. However, in the next moment, a few pitch-black chains flew out and pierced through the void, entangling the black lion. A few black shadows flashed out, but in the next moment, they disappeared again. Boom, boom. In the depths of the mountain range, there was a loud roar. The entire mountain range shook as if there were peerless experts fighting. However, not long after, the commotion disappeared. The entire mountain range fell silent. Even the roars of the monsters disappeared. Whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, 3 huge coffins broke through the air and flew out of the Black Lion mountain range, flying toward the north. At this moment, there was a commotion in the Black Lion mountain range. "Grandmaster, the Grandmaster is gone." "Master, my master is gone too." The patriarch had a big battle with someone and disappeared. In the Black Lion mountain range, there were waves of wailing. "Let's go, let's follow them." Su Zhong's eyes flashed as he said softly. Everyone nodded and rushed into the sky. They rushed into a cloud and used the cloud to cover their bodies as they chased after the three coffins. They flew toward the north for about 200,000 miles and entered a very desolate mountain range. This mountain range was boundless and uninhabited. There weren't even many demonic beasts here. Moreover, the deeper they went, the more desolate it was. It was even dead silent. Some white bones gradually appeared on the ground. They could even see some broken weapons and armor. This place should have been a battlefield hundreds or even thousands of years ago. It's filled with yin qi and murderous aura. The bald, burly man frowned. A wasteland appeared in front of them. The wasteland was filled with dark red fog. The howling wind was extremely terrifying. Whoosh, whoosh. The three coffins flew directly into the wasteland and disappeared. Everyone pondered for a moment and chased after them. As soon as they entered, everyone shuddered because the wind in the wasteland was too cold. Even with their cultivation, they could not withstand it for a while. Everyone restrained their aura and focused. They did not land on their feet and flew in the wasteland while looking around. "Look, there are so many coffins." Huang Jing suddenly exclaimed, softly. Her voice was trembling. Lu Ming looked around and saw rows of coffins in the wasteland. These coffins were about the same size as normal coffins. They were pitch black and eerie. At a glance, there were at least a few hundred of them. Everyone's expression was a little serious as they continued to move forward. Soon, they had traveled dozens of miles. Along the way, they saw at least a few thousand coffins. "What the hell is this place? Is it a graveyard?" Huang Jing's face was a little pale. After all, she was a woman. Although she was powerful, she was still afraid of these things. "It's probably a faction that cultivates evil martial arts. They're entrenched here." The bald, burly man said, "Those martial artists of martial ancestor realm and above have all disappeared regardless of whether they're dead or alive. It's extremely strange. In the eastern part of Tianxian region, I've never heard of any faction that needs so many coffins to cultivate." Su Zhong said, "Could it be?" At that moment, the white-haired old man's expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have thought of something. "Brother Zhong, what did you think of?" Su Zhong hurriedly asked. "Heavenly Corpse Sect." The white-haired old man pondered for a while, then spat out 3 words in a very serious manner. "What? Heavenly Corpse Sect?" Su Zhong, the bald, burly man, Huang Jing, and the others exclaimed. Their expressions changed. Chapter 467. Lu Ming had never heard of the Heavenly Corpse Sect before. However, after entering the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, he had heard of it. The Heavenly Corpse Sect was an extremely powerful force. Like the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, it was one of the top forces in the Divine Wilderness continent. Furthermore, the Heavenly Corpse Sect and the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace were mortal enemies. They would fight to the death whenever they met. The most terrifying thing was that the Heavenly Corpse Sect was a force that had suddenly risen in the past 300 years. It was expanding at a terrifying speed and was constantly encroaching on the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's territory. The Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace had been fighting with the Heavenly Corpse Sect for hundreds of years. Not only was the Heavenly Corpse Sect not destroyed, but it was also growing stronger. Although the Heavenly Corpse Sect was still weaker than the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. It was not much weaker. However, wasn't the Heavenly Corpse sect fighting with the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace in some of the bigger regions in the Eastern Wilderness? Since when did they appear in the east of the Tianxian region? The Tianxian region was located in the easternmost region of the Divine Wilderness continent. In other words, it was a desolate region. How could the Heavenly Corpse sect infiltrate here? They can't be from the Heavenly Corpse sect, right? Huang Jing's voice was trembling and her face was pale. He, you guessed right. We are from the Heavenly Corpse sect. Furthermore, we are the corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Suddenly, a few sinister and ear-piercing laughter rang out. The sound was extremely unpleasant, as if two pieces of metal were rubbing against each other. Whoosh, whoosh. 3 huge coffins pierced through the air. They were about 100 meters long and were extremely huge. In the blink of an eye, the 3 coffins stopped in 3 different directions, surrounding the crowd in a triangular formation. They are really from the Heavenly Corpse sect. Furthermore, they are corpse guards. Su Zhong and the others wore grave expressions. The corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect were similar to the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's corpse guards. They were the elites of their respective forces. I understand now. It turns out that you captured the experts of the martial ancestor realm and, above, to refine them into refined corpses. Su Zhong said, of course, we will refine their corpses into refined corpses. A sinister laughter rang out from one of the coffins in the east. The corpses of martial ancestor realm experts have limited uses. Now that you have delivered the corpses of a few martial kings, you can refine into refined corpses. A voice rang out from the coffin in the west. You discovered us, Su Zhong said. Of course. Do you think that we don't know that you guys are investigating us, the Tian Divine Guards? The reason why we went to the Black Lion Mountain Range was to lure you here. Obediently accept your death. A cold voice came from the coffin in the east. At the same time, with a click, the lid of the coffin opened, and 7 or 8 black shadows flew out. They were black chains. Trash from the Heavenly Corpse sect. This is the Tianxian region, the territory of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Since you guys are here, stay here. The bald man roared and rushed towards the coffin in the east. An incomparably dazzling saber light burst out. It was 1,000 meters long, as if it could split the entire world apart. However, whoosh, whoosh. Those black iron chains seemed to have a mind of their own as they pierced through the void. The 8 iron chains intertwined together and blasted towards the saber light. Boom! With a violent vibration, the saber light was destroyed by the iron chain, but the iron chain also flew back. You have some skills. Good, good. The stronger the better. The stronger you are, the stronger the refined corpse will be. A sinister laugh came from the coffin. Then the coffin let out a creaking sound, and the lid of the coffin opened completely. Whoosh! A burly figure flew out from the coffin. This figure was more than 2 meters tall, and his face was pale without a trace of blood. However, there was a tinge of black iron in his pale face. His eyes were filled with anger, but there was no emotion in them. On its body, there were circles of black iron chains. This is a refined corpse, not the actual person, Su Zhong said in a deep voice. I didn't expect that a country bumpkin from the eastern part of the Tianxian region would have some knowledge. The ear-piercing voice continued to ring out from the coffin, following which a black figure appeared. This black figure looked very thin, and his body was wrapped in a black robe, revealing a pale face. There was no trace of blood on his face, as if he was a corpse. However, his eyes were cold, which meant that he was a living person. It was said that the martial artists of the Heavenly Corpse sect mainly controlled corpses. Each of them would refine at least one refined corpse, and some would even bring many refined corpses with them. The stronger the refined corpses, the stronger their strength would be. Die. Kill. The corpse guard of the Heavenly Corpse sect shouted with a murderous aura. Whoosh, whoosh. The refined corpse waved its arms, and the 8 chains danced wildly in the air as they charged toward the bald man. Don't think that I'm afraid of you, the bald man shouted angrily as he charged toward the refined corpse. Clang, clang. The two immediately engaged in a fierce battle. The refined corpse was very powerful, and its strength was equivalent to the peak of the first layer Martial King realm. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand in the battle. Do you think that's all I've got? Come out. The corpse guard suddenly shouted in a low voice. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, 2 tall figures flew out of the huge coffin. Like the previous corpse, their bodies were wrapped in black iron chains. Their faces were pale, and there was a layer of black iron in them. Refined corpses. These 2 corpses were also refined corpses. Furthermore, they were emitting a strong corpse aura. Their auras were both at the early stage of the first layer Martial King realm. Terrifying. A corpse guard of the Heavenly Corpse sect was able to control 3 refined corpses of the Martial King realm. His strength was too terrifying. As soon as the 2 refined corpses appeared, they lunged toward Lu Ming and the others. I'll take them out. Huang Jing shouted coldly as she dashed toward the 2 refined corpses. Her aura of the mid-first layer Martial King realm burst out from her body. Furthermore, Huang Jing was not an ordinary D Tian Divine Guard. Like Lu Ming, she was a genius who had passed the previous selection. Her strength was stronger than an ordinary Martial King realm cultivator. Her strength was close to that of a late first layer Martial King realm cultivator. Clang, clang. Huang Jing's sword was as fast as lightning, and she had lashed out a few hundred times in an instant. However, when the sword rays landed on the refined corpses, it was as if they had landed on metal. Sparks flew in all directions, and in the end, only a few shallow marks were left on the corpses. These refined corpses are similar to the golden-eyed blood corpse. They have copper skin and iron bones, and are invulnerable. Lu Ming thought. Huang Jing shouted as she engaged in a fierce battle with the 2 refined corpses. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Kill the corpse guard first. Su Zhong suddenly shouted angrily and dashed toward the corpse guard at lightning speed. You want to kill me? In your dreams, Heavenly Corpse Claw. The corpse guard of the Heavenly Corpse sect sneered and dashed toward Su Zhong. It stretched out a pair of skinny claws and clawed forward. In an instant, corpse aura filled the air as the claws slashed out like blades. Die. Chapter 468. Bam, 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 bam. The Heavenly Corpse sect's zombie guard blocked Su Zhong's attack. Although it was at a disadvantage, it did block it. Everyone was shocked. The Heavenly Corpse sect's combat strength was terrifying. Not only did they have several refined corpses with them, but they also had great combat strength. With the same number of corpses, ordinary martial artists were no match for them. Fortunately, Lu Ming had heard that the refined corpses of the Heavenly Corpse sect were very difficult to refine. Not only did they need the corpses of martial artists, but the refining conditions were also very strict. They needed all kinds of precious materials. Moreover, each person could only control a limited number of refined corpses. It was said that this was determined by the strength of one's mind. If it weren't for these restrictions, the Heavenly Corpse sect would be invincible. No force could compete with them. Swoosh! The zombie guard blocked Su Zhong's attack and retreated quickly, laughing eerily, just as Su Zhong was about to give chase. Another huge coffin let out a cracking sound. The lid of the coffin opened, and a black chain shot out like a bolt of lightning, piercing towards Su Zhong. Its power was extremely shocking. Su Zhong's face changed. He didn't have time to chase after the zombie guard and turned around to block the iron chains. Clang! Clang! After a few consecutive booms, Su Zhong's body trembled slightly, and the iron chains flew back. Roar! However, in the next moment, a deep roar came from the huge coffin. A figure pounced out, with iron chains dancing around it, and rushed towards Su Zhong. It was another corpse at the peak of LV-1 Martial King realm. Su Zhong's face turned serious as he fought with it. Kiki, a harsh and unpleasant sneer came out from the second coffin. A figure wrapped in a black robe walked out. It was an old man. His face was full of wrinkles, but his face was very pale, just like the previous zombie guard. It was obvious that he was also a zombie guard. Beside him was a tall and sturdy refined corpse. Only the white-haired old man, a skinny man in his 50s, and Lu Ming were left. Let's attack together and get rid of these people. The old zombie guard looked at the third coffin. Okay. A voice came out from the third coffin. Then the coffin lid opened and 3 figures walked out. One of them was obviously a corpse guard. He looked slightly younger, about 30 years old. Beside him stood 2 refined corpses. The 2 corpses both emitted auras of the late First Layer Martial Emperor realm. We'll take 2 of their corpses each. How about that? The zombie guard from before appeared beside the old zombie guard and said coldly, 2 corpses per person? All right, but that brat is only a half-stepped king warrior. I don't want him. The old zombie guard immediately said, I don't want that brat's corpse either. The first zombie guard shook his head and looked at the third zombie guard. You too, don't go overboard. You're throwing the trashiest thing at me again. This time, I don't want this brat's corpse no matter what. The last zombie guard said in a deep voice. Lu Ming was speechless. They hadn't even started fighting yet, but they were already discussing how to distribute their corpses. Did they think they were fish on the chopping block? Boom, boom. In the sky, there were several loud booms. Following this, 2 figures flickered. Su Zhong and the bald man retreated rapidly and stood beside Lu Ming's group. Huang Jing, don't be stubborn. Let's gather together and rush out together. Don't let them take us down one by one. Su Zhong said loudly. Huang Jing clenched her teeth and slashed out twice in a row, knocking the 2 refined corpses back slightly. She then retreated rapidly. Shush! As Huang Jing was retreating, a chain pierced through the air and almost pierced through her. Although she managed to dodge it, she was still hit by a strong force. Huang Jing let out a groan and retreated to the side of Lu Ming's group. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of her mouth. Shush! Shush! A piercing sound could be heard as the 2 first-layer martial ancestor realm refined corpses split into 2 sides, blocking their path of retreat. Do you think you can rush out by gathering together? How naive. The first zombie guard let out a piercing laugh. Humph, with our strength, although we're no match for them in a head-on battle, you won't be able to stop us if we want to rush out. Huang Jing snorted. She had just been injured and was in a bad mood. After speaking, she looked coldly at Lu Ming and said, Kid, no one can take care of you now. Don't expect us to help you. Good luck. When did I say that I need your help? Lu Ming smiled faintly. You're still so stubborn when you're about to die. Huang Jing snorted. Who said that there are only a few of us here? The old zombie guard suddenly sneered. What? Su Zhong and the rest were stunned. Phew! Suddenly, A piercing sound could be heard. In front of them, another huge coffin flew towards them. In an instant, it was above Lu Ming's head. There's more. Su Zhong and the rest were shocked. There's a deep hole there. The bald man shouted. Everyone looked ahead carefully. Through the hazy fog, they could see a huge crater in front of them. Just now, the coffin had flown out from that crater. Crack! The fourth coffin opened, and 3 figures walked out. A pale-faced young man in his 20s. Beside him were 2 refined corpses. However, the 2 refined corpses had powerful auras. One of them had reached the peak, first layer martial emperor realm, while the other was at the late first layer martial emperor realm. Huang Jing, Su Zhong, and the rest instantly turned pale. This time, there were as many as 9 refined corpses. Among them, there were 3 peak first layer martial emperor realm corpses, 2 late first layer martial emperor realm corpses, and 2 mid first layer martial emperor realm and early first layer martial emperor realm corpses, together with the 4 zombie guards. This force was far stronger than Su Zhong's group. What should we do? I can only hold off 1 peak first layer martial emperor realm corpse. If there's another late first layer martial emperor realm corpse, I won't be able to escape. The bald man said anxiously, I'm in the same situation. I can only hold off 1 peak first layer martial emperor realm corpse and another late first layer martial emperor realm corpse. Any more and I'll be in danger. Su Zhong said. The hearts of Huang Jing and the rest sank. There were still 5 refined corpses left. Huang Jing could only hold off 2 early first layer martial emperor realm corpses, while the white-haired old man and the skinny man, who were both at the mid first layer martial emperor realm, could only hold off 1 refined corpse each. Who would be able to hold off the remaining peak first layer martial emperor realm corpse? What should they do? Furthermore, it was only holding off the corpse. It was impossible for them to escape. Furthermore, there were still 4 zombie guards eyeing them. They were most likely going to die today. Everyone couldn't help but think this in their hearts. No, I'm still young. I don't want to die. Huang Jing screamed in her heart. Chapter 469. Refined corpses are controlled by the zombie guards. Once we kill a few zombie guards, the refined corpses will not pose a threat to us. At that instant, Lu Ming, who had remained silent, spoke all of a sudden. Nonsense! Who doesn't know that? But there are so many refined corpses here. How are we going to kill the zombie guards? What a joke. It's easy for you to say that. Go ahead and kill them if you dare. Huang Jing glared at Lu Ming and said in a disdainful tone, Fine, I'll go. Lu Ming took a step forward as his eyes flickered with battle intent. Huang Jing, Su Zhong, and the others were dumbfounded. You're going to kill them? Are you out of your mind? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Even if that's the case, there's no need to drag us down with you. Huang Jing chuckled as she did not believe Lu Ming's words. Guys, I'll leave the rest of the refined corpses to you. I'll deal with the first layer martial emperor realm refined corpse and the zombie guards. Lu Ming pointed to the zombie guard and the refined corpse that had appeared last. Su Zhong and the others were dumbfounded. Su Zhong and the others hesitated. Let him go, since he won't be of any help here. Since he wants to die, why don't we fulfill his wish? Huang Jing let out a hollow laugh. Shut up if you keep talking nonsense. I'll kill you first. Lu Ming glared at her with a cold, murderous intent. Huang Jing's face turned pale as her heart shuddered for some reason. Ha ha ha, did you hear that? That half-martial realm trash is trying to kill us. Hilarious. This is the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. Me too. The zombie guards wore mocking smiles on their faces. Don't waste your time with them. Kill them and refine. They're corpses. The zombie guard uttered a roar. Following this, 2 refined corpses flew out from his side, emitting a strong corpse aura. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 refined corpses, one at the peak First Layer Martial Emperor realm, and the other at the late First Layer Martial Emperor realm. More than 10 chains were fired from their bodies in the direction of Lu Ming. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming's aura completely erupted. His bloodline erupted. At the same time, the 3 concepts of wind, fire, and lightning also rose up. A long spear appeared in his hand. True Dragon Strike. He thrust out his spear, and a 3-colored true dragon roared as it pounced towards the 2 refined corpses. Boom! With a deafening rumble, the chains that the 2 refined corpses threw out were repelled. The 3-colored dragon did not stop and continued to attack the 2 refined corpses. Bang! Bang! The 2 refined corpses trembled violently and were sent flying hundreds of meters away. Su Zhong, Huang Jing, and the others widened their eyes to the point that their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Their mouths were agape, and they were dumbfounded. A single attack. Lu Ming had knocked 2 corpses back with a single attack. Not only that, one of them was a first-layer Martial Emperor Realm corpse. How could Lu Ming have such powerful battle prowess? The key point was that Lu Ming was only a half-step king. How could a half-step king beat back 2 such powerful refined corpses in one move? How was this possible? They thought they were dreaming. It was especially so for Huang Jing. Her pretty face was filled with disbelief. Previously, she had been mocking Lu Ming and looked down on Lu Ming. But now, Lu Ming's strength was beyond her understanding. Half-step king at such a young age, wielding a long spear, and comprehending 3 wills. I think I know who he is. Su Zhong murmured, but his face was filled with joy. Who? Who is it? Huang Jing asked in a daze. In the entire eastern region of Tianxian Domain, apart from the new Eastern Sky Divine Guard Lu Ming, who else has such battle prowess? The bald man said, Lu Ming? Lu Ming. So it's him, no wonder. Huang Jing was stunned at first, then she exclaimed. Lu Ming's name had spread to all the Imperial Sky Divine Guards in the eastern region of Tianxian Domain. There were not many who had not heard of him. Everyone present had heard of Lu Ming's name. You guys came together, but you don't know that the other party is Lu Ming? The bald man was speechless. Cough, cough. I did ask, but I was interrupted. Su Zhong coughed dryly. Huang Jing's face was somewhat pale. She was the one who had interrupted Lu Ming's self-introduction. At that time, she thought that there was no need to introduce a mere half-step king. Thinking about it now, she felt a little flustered. Lu Ming. The other party was actually Lu Ming, the rare genius of the eastern region of Tianxian Domain, the genius who had defeated a true king as a half-step king. If she had known that the other party was Lu Ming, she would not have mocked Lu Ming like that, even if she was beaten to death. Now, she regretted it to death. How is this possible? How is this possible? A mere half-step king. A zombie guard let out an incredulous cry. The other zombie guards had similar expressions. Kill! Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand, and his aura was like a dragon. With a wave of the long spear, a mighty spear light burst out. Kill this brat! The last zombie guard roared. Clang! Clang! The 2 refined corpses waved their iron chains and attacked Lu Ming. The iron chains were extremely terrifying and could shatter a mountain. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. 1,000 dragons kill. With a shake of the long spear, hundreds of small tricolor true dragons flew out. The 2 refined corpses were forced back, and even a few zombie guards were enveloped by the dragons. Damn it, let's kill him together. The old zombie guard roared, wanting to control the other zombie guards to attack Lu Ming. Block those zombie guards. Even if it means risking our lives, we must block them and buy time for Lu Ming. Su Zhong roared and pounced on a peak first-layer Martial King, refined corpse. He even enveloped a mid-first-layer Martial King, refined corpse, and restrained it. The bald man, Huang Jing, and the others yelled and charged toward the refined corpses. Lu Ming's outburst had given them hope, thus they did their best. In an instant, the entire area was immersed in a great battle. Lu Ming's true yuan burst out, and his long spear was like a dragon. The huge spear light was like a mountain, completely suppressing the two refined corpses. Previously, when Lu Ming was battling Xue Chao, before the three wills of wind, fire, and thunder had completely merged, Lu Ming's battle strength was already on par with Xue Chao's. Later on, when the three wills had completely merged, the power of the three wills had increased by a few times. Furthermore, the three unique skills of the Dragon God had evolved from a Tian rank lower martial skill to a Tian rank upper martial skill. Lu Ming's battle strength had also increased, allowing him to easily suppress Xue Chao. During this period of time, 99% of Lu Ming's vital essence had been transformed. At the same time, his understanding of the three unique skills of the Dragon God had deepened day by day. Now, Lu Ming's combat strength had completely surpassed that of an ordinary peak first-level Martial King. Therefore, Lu Ming was able to suppress the two refined corpses. "Shit, let's kill that kid together." The old zombie guard yelled in astonishment. "Kill! Kill!" The four zombie guards unleashed their corpse chi, and four claw glows swiped toward Lu Ming. "Devour!" Lu Ming's eyes flickered as the 9 dragons' bloodline flew out and uttered a roar, unleashing a terrifying devouring force. "The power of my bloodline, my blood essence!" The 4 zombie guards instantly exclaimed.